Okay, so we are streaming today, everyone, and I hope you'll excuse my hat. My hair is just a complete mess. I need to get a haircut soon, suffice to say. So, before we get into this, Ethan Klein stuff, I was just taking a quick look at, some Donald Trump news. Look up Donald Trump news, and the top three articles are just horrible. And then I was taking a look at some of this tariff stuff, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these tariffs make no sense. This is the White House's fact sheet that they put out on about the tariffs, and now this is the most updated version of the fact sheet, even though this isn't the most updated set of facts because Donald Trump has delayed the tariffs due to agreements that he's made with Mexico and Canada. But I just think it's so strange. So it says, addressing an emergency situation. The extraordinary threat posed by illegal aliens and drugs, including deadly fentanyl, constitutes a national emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So they're saying that the threat posed by illegal aliens and drugs is making the national emergency. But then all of the things that they're talking about to justify the tariffs is economic. So it says, until the crisis is alleviated, President DJT is implementing a 25% additional tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and a 10% additional tariff on imports from China. Energy resources from Canada will have a lower 10% tariff. President Trump is taking bold action to hold Mexico, Canada, and China accountable to their promises of halting illegal immigration and stopping poisonous fentanyl and other drugs from flowing into our country. The orders make clear that the flow of contraband drugs like fentanyl to the United States through illicit distribution networks has created a national emergency, including a public health crisis. So then it says, using our leverage to ensure Americans' safety, previous administrations failed to fully leverage America's economic position as a tool to secure our borders against illegal immigration or illegal migration and combat the scourge of fentanyl, preferring to let problems fester. Access to the American market is a privilege. The United States has one of the most open economies in the world and the lowest average tariff rates in the world. While trade accounts for 67% of Canada's GDP, 73% of Mexico's GDP, and 37% of China's GDP, it accounts for only 24% of US GDP. However, in 2023, the US trade deficit in goods was the largest at over $1 trillion. So they're acting like this is a bad thing, that trade is only 24% of US GDP, but they do realize that tariffs will drive this number down, right? Because when we're talking about trade as a percentage of GDP, that is the total amount of imports and exports. And obviously, if you enact tariffs, both imports and exports are going to decrease. Tariffs are a powerful, proven source of leverage for protecting the national interest. Well, not really the national interest. It's very specific in terms of what you are trying. Basically, you're trying to ice out a market, and you're trying to beef up a domestic market. Beef up domestic industry to try to give them a boost up, give your domestic production a leg up on the foreign production. President Trump is using the tools at hand and taking decisive action that puts American safety and our national security first. So this is just ridiculous when we're talking about illegal migration or the amount of drugs carried in through borders. Tariffs isn't going to do anything on that. Even protecting the border and closing down the border, that's not going to have any effect on that. Once again, the majority of drugs are carried into the country through legal forms of crossing the border. It's carried in a lot of the time by American citizens that are just getting it from cartels throughout the world. Joe Biden actually had a huge impact on the drug flow throughout the entire world by targeting the source of drugs like fentanyl in just areas where it was being produced. And simply because he was targeting the production of the drugs, the supply of the drugs flowing into the country was dramatically decreased. And that's why we're at some of the underneath Joe Biden's presidency, and as a direct result of his efforts, the amount of drug overdoses went down for the first time in 12 years. So we're using basically economic coercion to get 10,000 National Guard from Mexico to the southern border, this doesn't make any sense. Like, they're literally saying that this is a threat to try to get our partners to secure our borders and combat fentanyl. And so you are threatening them instead of actually working with them. So on its face, this doesn't make any sense at all. He's keeping his promise to stop the flood of illegal aliens and drugs. When voters overwhelmingly elected, it wasn't an overwhelm. Oh my God, it was not overwhelming. He won by what, 1.5%, and 3.5 million votes for Kamala Harris were thrown out. So Kamala Harris actually should have won the popular vote and arguably won the actual election in the Electoral College. The Biden administration's policies have fueled the worst border crisis in U.S. history. That doesn't make any sense. Like, Joe Biden deported way more people than Trump deported while he was in president. While in Trump's last term, Biden deported way more as a raw number and a percentage than Trump did. Also, border crossings were at a low. Like, when Biden left office, they were at a low. More than 10 million illegal aliens attempted to enter the U.S. under Biden's leadership, including a rising number of Chinese nationals and people on the terror watch list. What the fuck? So we're just being racist now, including a rising number of Chinese. The problem is not confined to the southern border. Encounters at the northern border with Canada are rising as well. Gang members, smugglers, human traffickers, and illegal drugs and narcotics of all kinds are pouring across our borders and into our communities. Custom and Border Protection apprehended more than 21,000 pounds of fentanyl at our borders. Enough fentanyl to kill more than 4 billion people. I love that. Enough to kill more than 4 billion people. It is we don't even have 4 billion people in the country. So how could it kill 4 billion? Oh, this just doesn't make any. Okay. It is estimated. It is estimated that federal officials are only able to seize a fraction of the fentanyl smuggled across. Yes, that's because they're smuggled through legal ports of entry. These drugs kill tens of thousands of Americans each year, including 75,000 deaths per year attributed to fentanyl alone. Okay. Donald Trump oversaw the opioid epidemic as well, and he didn't do anything about it. Building on past success, President Trump continues to demonstrate his commitment to ensuring U.S. trade policy serves the national interest. As President Trump said in the presidential memorandum on American First trade policy is a critical component in national security. He's signed all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the U.S., and it's a ridiculous open borders. I don't understand what people mean when they say open borders. I really don't. I don't understand what people mean when they say our borders are open or we need to close the borders. There's not a door that we can just shut and now the border's closed. President Trump also has a long record of putting American first on trade. In his first term, President Trump successfully used threats of tariffs on Mexico to help secure a border. Once again, this doesn't make any sense. Putting America first on trade is using threats of tariffs to help secure our border? You're basically saying we're using threats of tanking our trade relationships for something completely unrelated to trade. When our national security was threatened by a global oversupply in steel and aluminum, President Trump took swift action to protect America's national security by implementing tariffs on imports of these goods. Now, U.S. Steel is trying to merge with Nippon Steel? In response to China's IP theft, forced technology transfer, and other unreasonable behavior, President Trump acted with conviction to impose tariffs on imports from China, using that leverage to reach a historic bilateral economic agreement. Just last week, President Trump leveraged tariffs to successfully resolve national security concerns with Colombia. Again, this is completely insane. Why are they trying to pretend like this has anything to do with trade when they're just saying President Trump is using the threat of tariffs to achieve meaningless, personal wins over these presidents of different countries? It makes no sense at all. Oh, this is the cool hat. Wait, did Ethan? Sorry, I was not looking at chat. Did Ethan actually have a meltdown yesterday? Oh my God, I have grandparents in Canada, Toast Malone, and yeah, they're not enjoying Donald Trump's presidency. So I'm going to cover a bit more Trump news, and then we'll transition into the Ethan Klein stuff. But suffice to say, it's not good news. Okay, honestly, like some of the best news of the news cycle this past week has been the fact that Donald Trump rescinded on the tariffs and he's just been using it as threats. And I think Kyle Kalinske has been doing a great job of covering this. There is like the theory that he has been floating out there that basically Donald Trump and his insider trading oligarchy buddies just shorted the stocks of the US stock market. And then when they tanked, they made billions of dollars. And then Donald Trump is like, oh, actually, we'll be postponing the tariffs on 30 days. And then the stock market goes back. So, like, there's that theory that really is the only thing that makes sense. I don't even know what concessions Donald Trump got from Canada. Like, there was a let me see. Canada tariff. Oops, it's only one R. Trump. Trump made something snap in us. U.S.-Canada ties frayed by tariff row. Some tariff... All right, let's read this. Some tariff concessions from Canada and Mexico touted by Trump lack substance, experts say. Yeah, no shit. Okay, let's read what NBC News has to say. President Donald Trump and his supporters have heralded his use of tariff threats to exact concessions on drug trafficking and border security from Canada and Mexico. Yet experts say some of the measures agreed to by America's two largest trading partners and close allies are less substantial than what has been trumpeted. Trump announced a 25% tariffs on the two countries Saturday with the expectation they would take effect Tuesday. By Monday, he said that he had reached an agreement with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to deploy 10,000 of her country's National Guard officers to the U.S. border to stem the flow of migrants and drugs into the U.S. Sheinbaum said she had agreed to establish a bilateral working group with the Trump administration that would tackle security, migration, and trade. So that's the thing that came out where people were talking about. That's the thing that came out where people were talking about, oh, Donald Trump got all of these concessions from Mexico. But what he didn't mention is that Claudia Sheinbaum was in Mexico telling her people that we got concessions from the United States to say that they're going to work to crack down on gun trafficking into the U.S. Oh, no. The White House didn't take action against Hasan. The same day, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he had agreed to beef up border and drug enforcement, as well as appoint a new fentanyl czar and designate cartels as terrorist organizations. So that's what he got from Canada. Jesus Christ, Trump is an embarrassing president. Kamala Harris was right about one thing, and that's when she was in the debate stage with Trump and said that world leaders laugh at Donald Trump. Like, he is such a blustering buffoon. Okay, so this is where it gets dark. So we can laugh about the tariff thing, but Donald Trump's plan to take over Gaza it really is a mask-off moment for American imperialism, and I think that this is something that we can really talk about in a lot of aspects of Donald Trump's presidency. When we take a look at some of the actions that he's doing, and we see that he wants to take over Palestine. We see that he is a completely corrupt politician and he's using tariffs to basically have personal beefs with our allies and neighbors. And that he also wants to pull out of the United Nations Human Rights Council because we just don't believe in human rights anymore. That's like, oh my God, this is so bad. But then we take a look at some of what other Republican politicians have been doing. We take a look at some of what other Democratic politicians have been doing, and we see that he's not that far in terms of a departure of the norm, in terms of American imperialism. I think that what we can say is that when it comes to Donald Trump ripping apart the regulatory state, he is by far on a completely another level than any other politician. Even Republican politicians. Before Donald Trump, Republican politicians were all in favor of having like not a strong regulatory state, but not completely ripping apart the federal government altogether and selling it for scraps. Joe Biden, he did a pretty good job of empowering regulatory agencies. by empowering the NLRB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, helping labor. He did a good job in that, actually also protecting different areas of just nature reserves from getting developed. Joe Biden did a good job of actually like trying to rein in corporations. Was it enough? I don't think it's by far nearly enough, but he did a better job than Obama. He did a better job than Donald Trump in that regard. Donald Trump comes in and he just completely blows the top off of it. So there's a significant difference there. But when we're talking about the genocide that Donald Trump is basically supporting, there's not a significant departure from what Joe Biden was doing. When we're talking about how he's ignoring international law, that's not a significant departure than what Joe Biden was doing. Joe Biden was also ignoring international law in regards to Israel and Palestine. And also, like, when we're talking about like Donald Trump using unilateral power to enact his will on the world, that's also not a huge significant departure from what Joe Biden was doing. Just like, we have to remember that Joe Biden did pretty much like bomb Yemen without the consent of Congress. That was a big scandal. Donald Trump, like, of course, is on another level when we're talking about the amount of violence that he's willing to use on the world. But that being said, it's not a departure from the path we were on underneath Joe Biden and the Democrats' control. It's the same with American imperialism. Joe Biden had the same idea where America needs to be involved in everything. You can definitely see that with Ukraine. Now, I do happen to think that funding Ukraine is justified compared to like funding Israel. But it's still the same thought. It's still the same thought that America needs to be involved in everything. America is kind of the world police. If we are not there, China's going to be there, Russia's going to be there, some imperial power is going to be there. So this isn't a huge departure. However, Donald Trump is doing it way more obviously, way more blatantly, and he's just ripping the mask off of all of these negative structures that have been kind of festering underneath the veneer of respectable liberalism. So let's just take a look at what he's doing right now. President Donald Trump doubled down on controversial plans for the Gaza Strip on Thursday, saying the Palestinian enclave would be turned over to the United States by Israel once the war there ends. Also, horrible framing of this. The war there? What the fuck are you talking about? The comments in a string of posts on Truth Social followed his proposal for the U.S. to take over and develop Gaza, which were derided by rivals and even questioned by close allies earlier this week. Israeli officials did not immediately comment on Trump's latest comments, though in an interview on Fox News on Wednesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Trump's initial proposal. Asked to comment on Trump's statement on Thursday, a spokesperson referred to NBC News to the Fox News interview. Later, Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said Israel does not have details on Trump's Gaza plan, according to Reuters. In his post on Truth Social, he just made it up, right? Donald Trump's just like riffing off the top of his head. I'm sure this is the plan that his administration was going for, but they don't have any details for it. I don't even think that we're ready to announce it, and Trump just like couldn't help himself. Trump suggested that Palestinians could be resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities. This is so fucking disgusting. With new and modern homes in the region, adding fresh confusion to discrepancies in his stance on the future of Palestinians in Gaza. Yeah, so they bomb the hell out of Gaza for like 14 months. And then they say, these communities are so dangerous, they're so ugly. You should go to where it's safe for you. You should go to where there are beautiful homes for you to live in. Trump also said that no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. Trump's Truth Social post comes after Why are we even, dude, I swear there's a conspiracy in the media to advertise for Truth Social. Why are we saying Trump's Truth Social post every time? Just say his post and then provide a link for it. You don't need to do an advertisement for Truth Social. I fucking hate saying it. Comes after contradictory comments Tuesday on whether he foresaw Palestinians being able to live in a future Gaza that he described as the Riviera of the Middle East. He initially suggested the Palestinians could be permanently removed before adding they would be able to live there alongside others after Gaza was rebuilt. Yeah, so I think that's just him being like, oh yeah, Palestinians, like they're going to be gone. And then some advisors like, Trump, can you say that they can at least come back after like 5 years? And he's like, oh yeah, 5 years, 5 years of living in beautiful, safe homes. Trump's proposal to seize control of Gaza and potentially oust the roughly 2.2 million Palestinians who live there has sparked anger, fear, and disbelief across the Middle East and around the world. Okay, so we can take a look at this. So this is an update live. Trump says Gaza will be turned over to U.S. by Israel after the war. Let's take a look at this video. I don't know what this is.
Simultaneously, and that's what we should be working for.
Gentlemen, I'm just going to jump in there because actually I believe we do have Osama Hamdan back, so we're going to give him a try. But in the meantime, Rami Khoury and Asi Yobbo, thanks very much indeed. Thank you. So let's speak to Osama Hamdan, who's a senior spokesperson for Hamas, joins us now live. So this meeting between the Qatari Prime Minister and Steve Witkoff, as I say, Qatar.
Oh my God, Al Jazeera is interviewing a senior member of Hamas, dude. Oh my God, we have to blacklist Al Jazeera. Actually, they should all be like executed, but from public life. They should all be executed in a video game from public life because this is unconscionable. They're interviewing a member of Hamas and they're not saying, do you reject the idea of killing little children? Wow, someone tell Ethan Klein about Al Jazeera. He should really make a content nuke about Al Jazeera.
Message after will be good. If it was the important, I think the important message for both is supposed to be delivered that the Palestinians, they are seeking to have their rights and they will do their best to have those rights. If it was delivered by the international community to them, that will be good. If not, they will resist for that. They will fight the occupation to have their rights back. Anyone can understand the clear message after 15 months of Israeli genocide in Gaza that you can't defeat the Palestinian people. You can't defeat this nation, which was struggling for their legitimate rights for more than 75 years. This is the idea. Give the Palestinian people their rights and end the occupation. This will end the sufferness of the people of Palestine, and it will create stability in the region.
And what is your perception of everything that Donald Trump has been saying in recent hours? His suggestion, for one, that Gaza should be cleared out and the US will take over.
Well, I can say that in three main simple sentences. First of all, it seems to me that Mr. Trump is dealing with the Palestinian issue as it's a kind of real estate land. He doesn't understand that Gaza for the Palestinians is their homeland. It's not a real estate. So no one will sell this land. No one will accept to have anything instead of this land to be and to live there. The second issue, he's ignoring the fact that there is an occupation, and this occupation has committed a genocide against the Palestinians for the last 15 months. And instead of helping the Palestinians, he is talking about helping the occupation. So he has to turn back and to act in the right direction. Biden administration have supported the Israeli genocide, and the outcome was nothing except the killing of thousands of Palestinians, destroying more than 80% of Gaza. So he has to make an end for the occupation instead of transferring the Palestinians. The third point, clearly, it's important to understand that if you decide to transfer the Palestinians from their land, you are creating a new equation in the international community, that any people can be transferred, any country can be destroyed, any occupation can be continued. If you accept the transfer of the Palestinians from Gaza and West Bank, that means after a few maybe years, the Israelis will start talking about transferring the Jordanians from Jordan, maybe the Lebanese from their homeland.
So let me ask you, what do you also make, sorry to jump in there, but what do you also make of Israel ordering the army to prepare for the voluntary departure of Palestinians? What do you make of that? And how many Palestinians would actually leave Gaza voluntarily, do you think?
Well, I think no one will leave Palestine by himself voluntarily.
Yeah. So anyway, when we talk about this, what this man is saying is 100% correct. It's like, if you want to have peace in this region, what you need to do is have the Israeli army withdraw, end the occupation, and that will create stability. And then also just, we need to talk about how we need to talk about the point that he brought up, which is basically saying, if we do this and we ethnically displace all of the Palestinians, this is going to be a horrible precedent that is being set. And I agree with him here. And it's not just that the Palestinians are being genocided. It's going to allow Israel to continue that genocide. I think that this is a real turning point right now. We are basically on the precipice of complete ethnic displacement and genocide, or peace. We have a ceasefire deal right now, and it's a very shaky ceasefire deal that's going on between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And really, we're at a fork in the road. Israel can double down on their genocide with the support of Donald Trump, or they can double down on withdrawing their troops and have this region have some sort of long-lasting peace. And then I also think that it's just like this kind of blatant imperialism, land grab, genocidal intent actions that we're seeing out of Israel right now, it needs to become a thing of the past. And we cannot have Israel have no consequences for their actions whatsoever, because if they have no consequences, then it's never going to become a thing of the past, and it's going to become a viable strategy to empower your country for the future. Yeah. And it's extremely sad, but like, what are their plans post-Palestine? Their plans post-Palestine is to do the same thing to Syria, do the same thing to Jordan, do the same thing to Lebanon. They're just going to be expanding forever, pretty much. They're going to be expanding forever, and then when they finally stop in expanding their actual borders, they're going to continue to work to undermine these states that do rise up and try to resist them. So it's a very dark time. And I just also need to say here, when we're talking about liberals who are being smug and saying, so many Muslims voted for Donald Trump, aren't you stupid little Muslim people voting for Donald Trump? You need to slap them, because Muslim voters that voted for Donald Trump are not the enemy right now. Even white supremacist voters that want Muslims to be exterminated in the Middle East and want Israel to expand into greater Israel so we can have some kind of second coming of Jesus Christ, they are not the ones that we should be looking at right now. We can't even be blaming the actual white supremacist voters that are both anti-Semitic and Islamophobic. Who we need to be blaming is Donald Trump. We need to be aiming our efforts at Donald Trump and other members of the international community. So, like a few months into the, I don't remember exactly when. I think it was like maybe like 6 months ago. I went to this meeting, and it's like, how can we resist against how can we make our voices heard to show that we resist against Palestine, like against the genocide in Palestine? And I was talking to some people, and they're a little bit like politically naive, and they're like, well, I think that we need to recenter ourselves and let other people speak, because, you know, as a member of the United States, I feel like we can be a little bit too self-centered, and this is like a international community. We should really highlight the international aspect of all peoples rising up and resisting against Palestine, resisting against the atrocities in Palestine. And it's like, yeah, that's a good notion, but you are missing the fact that the United States is the only one shielding Israel. It's the only one actually defending Israel's actions, and we are literally funding Israel as well. So as a member of the United States, it seems incumbent upon us, at least while Joe Biden was president, it seems incumbent upon us to actually try to push for change inside of the country, because, we are living in the country that is basically having this genocide run and facilitated. So it was like, 6 months ago when Joe Biden was president, a lot of power was on us. But I think at this point, when we have a president who is so willing to tank international relationships and is so oblivious to basically human rights and cries for human rights, it becomes a different dynamic. It's basically, and I'm not saying the United States is a lost country, but the internal protesting movements of the United States is almost a lost cause. Donald Trump has all but made it illegal to protest against Israel. And at this point, we need to start looking at reducing the United States' power on an international scale. And that does involve rising up in other countries. That does involve having citizens of other countries that are U.S. allies making their voices heard at their displeasure of the United States, and making their leaders realize that they can rise up and resist against the United States. They can stand up to this country, because the United States does need to be power checked right now. That's just the end of discussion. When you have an authoritarian leader running the United States, it's no longer really feasible for a member of the U.S. to rise up and make their voice heard and try to change policy that way. You need an authoritarian leader who only cares about power to be dealt with by power in return. That being said, I honestly think it's bordering on being bigoted if you are going to look at the imminent, complete ethnic cleansing of Gaza and turn around, and instead of having your anger be heard and directing it at Republicans and Donald Trump, turning around and yelling at your neighbor voter who happens to be Muslim that voted for Donald Trump because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were both facilitating a genocide and not taking a stand against that genocide in any way, and yelling at them. I think that is honestly borderline being bigoted. And the only reason I'm saying borderline is because I can understand that due to the futility of actually making a stand against Donald Trump, and the idea that it is so difficult to not only make your voice heard, but have that voice have any kind of change. Have your political action have any kind of meaningful change. That is so futile with an authoritarian president like Donald Trump that it feels like you are actually able to make a difference by yelling at Muslim voters and people that valued the Palestinian genocide and either abstained or even voted for Donald Trump. It feels like you are able to accomplish more by yelling at these people that are much more accessible to you. However, the fact is, yelling at them is going to have less of an effect on the country than yelling at Donald Trump, even though the effect of yelling at Donald Trump is almost going to be negligible. It's just making yourself feel better. It feels like you're doing something. It feels like you have an I told you so moment. When really, I laid out before, there is not a meaningful difference in what Trump is doing than what Joe Biden is doing. And I'll say this until I die, but even though there's not a meaningful difference in what they're doing, there is a difference. And I would always vote for the lesser of two evils, which is why I voted for Kamala Harris. So let's just get into some of this reaction. I said what I had to say on Donald Trump. Let's talk about this content nuke, because this does relate to it. This is an example of Ethan Klein, a liberal Zionist that has a bleeding heart for the Palestinian people, but not bleeding enough to actually take a stand against the ethno-state that Israel presents itself as, is in the current form of, and not so bleeding that he's willing to overlook people like Hasan and Frogan and Bad Empanada of saying, these resistance groups aren't that bad when we're talking about the resistance against Israel. And actually, like, Israel's imperialism and aggression is what causes these resistance groups in the first place. And then Ethan Klein looks at that and says anti-Semitic. So he really cares about the Palestinian people, but he doesn't care enough to kind of let go of his initial gut reaction of hating brown people that will rise up against Israel. He's not pro-Palestinian enough to let that go. And actually, if you say that these groups that are resisting against Israel aren't too bad, that's being anti-Semitic. So let's get into this.
I am wrong. Even if they are terrible people, you repeatedly calling Jewish people inbred is a...
Okay, so I watched a little bit of this. I don't know, guys. If you've seen these episodes lately, let me know. There was the nuclear fallout, and then there's the also, like, responding to Hasan or something, or Hasan hates me, something like that. Let me know what you think is more worthy to react to. Dear Hasan Piker. Okay, so let's take a look. I watched a bit about this. This is going to be like a big jerk-off session for Ethan Klein. Why did Ethan make the video? Okay, let's see why he made the video.
The one thing I wanted...
And Emily, to answer your question, I saw the video. I didn't actually watch the entire thing, but I did notice that Bad Empanada put out a 4-hour video reacting to it. I feel like I have the longest reaction video to it on YouTube. I reacted to it for about an hour in a video beforehand, and then I came back and I reacted to the entire thing in a 5-hour long breakdown. I'm not expecting everyone to watch that, but I was also sleep deprived, so I probably could have done it faster.
That's come out of this project. I knew that of Hasan's cultish diehard fans that obviously I wouldn't be converting or getting through to any of them. And the reaction is just, you guys will see how comical their reactions have been, to the point of the coping that has been underway has been something to witness. But what I did want is to influence anyone who's on, like, who's like knows about him, that doesn't really know about him, people that are like casual watchers, people who are watchers of both of us, who are like, I'm a fan of both of them, and I can't decide between mom and dad and all this kinds of stuff. And in general too, I mean, I say at the end of the video, I say explicitly my goal was to reach out to people in mainstream media who continually have Hasan on their platform. CNN, Complex, the DNC, these people are reaching out and having him thinking like he's like this cool, liberal, democratic force on the internet that's charging kids up and getting them to vote.
The most popular.
And it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, this guy was literally working against Kamala Harris by the end of it. So shout out to him and his community, by the way.
Holy shit, dude. Ethan's such a fucking dumbass. He's like, Hasan was literally working against Kamala Harris. Yeah, Hasan was literally telling people to vote for Donald Trump by the end of it. Once again, he tried so desperately. Like, there was that one episode where he was getting a bunch of different clips of Hasan, and he's like, okay, this one's showing that he doesn't support Kamala Harris. Then it didn't show that. Okay, this one's showing that Hasan didn't support Kamala Harris. Didn't show it. Then they're like, okay, he's literally encouraging. Then his producers were saying, Hasan's literally encouraging his entire fan base to vote right now by filling out like a mail-in voting ballot. And Ethan's like, okay, well, I want to see the part where he votes for Kamala Harris. Hasan's like, I'm not going to explicitly vote for Kamala Harris like on stream, because I know there's so many people in my community that just can't bring themselves to vote for her because of the genocide that she's facilitating. But don't vote for Donald Trump. I am voting for president, but I'm not voting for Donald Trump. And I encourage you all to vote. And now Ethan's like, that is actively working against Kamala Harris. So basically, being understanding of the feelings of people in your community who have literally lost family members because of the policies Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been pursuing is now actively working against Kamala Harris. And then also remember that one time Hasan was like giving props in quotations to Trump because Trump got a ceasefire deal passed. And then Ethan Klein is like, this guy's just conservative now. And they're like, doesn't he wear a MAGA hat? So Ethan's completely fucking stupid, and he says Hasan is actively encouraging people to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay. Also, just one other thing that I need to point out here. This is the why did Ethan make the video? Inside of the content nuke, there was an entire section dedicated to the idea that Hasan calls himself a propagandist, and Ethan pointed that out like it was a bad thing. Ethan pointed that out, and he's like, Hasan's a propagandist. He has this hidden agenda that he's going to try to brainwash his viewers to do. Okay, but you are admitting right now that you made this video with an agenda to try to make Hasan look as bad as possible. To have like a neatly packaged piece of propaganda that would change people's minds on a political figure like Hasan. You are literally admitting to being a propagandist in this content nuke video that you're making.
And I do want to remind you all that I'm officially a more effective advocate for Palestinians by voting, just by that act of voting for Kamala, than every single person that abstained or voted for Trump in protest.
Okay, so Ethan Klein can go fuck himself. He says, by voting for Kamala Harris, who, once again, let's keep this in mind, Kamala Harris never once used the word genocide. The most she did was say we need a ceasefire and the hostages to be returned home. And that was considered a groundbreaking statement from Kamala Harris, where she said we need a ceasefire. When confronted with pro-Palestinian protesters, Kamala Harris said, I'm speaking. You guys can shut the fuck up. She didn't say that part, but that was the vibe that she was giving. Hasan has from day one, from before day one, before October 7th, been advocating for an end to the occupation of Israel, or the occupation of Gaza by Israel, and an end to the genocide after October 7th. He's been advocating day zero for an end to the genocide happening. Ethan Klein has been running defense for Israel. He's been saying that Palestinians just really hate Israelis. If we got rid of the occupation and took down the borders, so many Jews would die, because it's just that the Palestinians hate Jewish people, right? It's just that Palestinians hate Jewish people. There's no other reason for that. And when you're talking about the Nakba, well, Israel had to do the Nakba. And look, they were kind of justified to do the Nakba because Arab states expelled millions of Jews from their states. Aren't you stupid, Arab states? You're so dumb. Why would you expel Jews to Israel if you hated Israel? You're so dumb, you dumb little Arab states. So you're complaining about the Nakba, but what about the Jewish expulsion from Arab states? Kind of makes the Nakba seem insignificant when you look at it like that. So he's been doing pro-Israel propaganda. He literally has said in the past that Ramallah is a terrorist city. He's pointed to his wife, who went on a raid to kidnap people from Ramallah, which, once again, if it's a separate nation, why would the military be doing raids in a city owned by another nation? And he's talked about how cool that was, right? I don't know if he said cool, but like the story and the dynamic of that storytelling was, wow, this is so profound and it's so crazy that you did that. That's like so deep that you went in there and you saw the military actually in action. So he's talked about that. He's talked about Ramallah as a terrorist city. They have been doing like pro-apartheid propaganda. Gila saying that the walls that Israel built basically helped create peace in Israel, and then also talking about how there is no apartheid in Israel because 20% of the population is Palestinian. He's completely ignored any kind of like push to help Palestinian people, to talk about the plight of the Palestinians on his show. The most he'll do is say that, well, I don't agree with the settlers in the West Bank, and I think Netanyahu's like a genocider. But now let's talk about Hasan and how he's a little bit too pro-Hamas. Hasan loves Hamas, and he doesn't condemn Hamas enough. Hasan didn't cry when I showed him a video of a guy saying like, oh, well, I think that, those hipsters at the music festival had it coming. Hasan didn't cry at that part. It's like, this is the kind of advocacy that Ethan Klein is doing, and he has the fucking gall to say that he's more pro-Palestinian than Hasan is, simply because he voted for someone who is facilitating a genocide in Kamala Harris. As I've said before, there are differences in the levels of genocidal mania that Kamala Harris has and what Donald Trump has. But they're not enough to say that if you voted for Donald Trump, you are more, or like you're more anti-Palestinian than someone who's been advocating for Palestinians for the past fucking year and a half. This is ridiculous.
For being an effective advocate for the Palestinian people.
I mean, dude, this is literally used as a joke on his show. Advocacy for Palestinians is literally being used as a joke on his show. Right? I would say this is a joke.
By voting, just by that act of voting for Kamala, then every single person that abstained or voted for...
Like, look, there are two options here. Either Ethan Klein legitimately believes that advocacy for Kamala Harris is doing more work for the Palestinian emancipation than actually advocating for Palestinian emancipation, than actually taking a stand and making phone calls, letting your displeasure be known. Ethan Klein legitimately believes that the voting for Kamala Harris is worth more than the months-long advocacy campaign that all pro-Palestinian, like, political pundits have been doing, okay? Or he's joking about that. Or he actually doesn't think that, and he's just using Palestinian advocacy as a joke, and as part of his joke, he's putting down the entire, like, years-long body of work that people have been doing, documenting the genocide that's going on, explaining the dynamics of the genocide that's going on, talking about the different aspects of Israeli propaganda and how that's incorrect, being a true advocate in every sense of the word. Either Ethan Klein believes that all of that is completely meaningless if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, who would have genocided a little bit less hard than Donald Trump did, or he's making a joke about that and just completely demeaning all of that work as part of the joke. But this guy's a comedian, right? Also, something funny that I saw in here, he's like, I never said I'm a comedian. But then he also says this is a comedy podcast. Okay, whatever.
Trump in protest. So you can thank me for being an effective advocate for the Palestinian people.
Well, maybe not that effective because she lost.
Well, whose fault is that?
But I get your point.
I did my way. You're right. I did my part.
Right. You did your part.
Yeah,
perhaps,
she did lose.
Yeah,
she did.
Maybe not the effective part, unfortunately.
So yeah, my goal was to hopefully influence enough people to be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be inviting Hasan to the DNC or profiling him on CNN without mentioning that he's also like an extreme.
Bro, he says Hasan was actively working against Kamala Harris by the end of the day, or by the end of the election. But then he also talks about Hasan being invited to the DNC by Kamala Harris's people. You're literally disproving your own point like a minute after you make it.
Extremist, and not like whitewashing his reputation. So that was part of it. The other part was to hold Twitch accountable. There's some parts in this video that I wish I saw more people talking about that I don't. Specifically, at the end of the video, there's a whole section on Twitch in which I talk about a few employees of Twitch with like deeply fucked up views. And one of them is the marketing director of inclusivity. And this fucking bitch, and I will tell you, and I will say that, and you'll know that I earned it. She tweeted out, once again, head of inclusive marketing. She tweeted out, what is the difference between a Jewish kid and a Boy Scout? Does anyone know the answer?
I do know the answer, and I was going to give you the criticism that I feel like you probably should have answered that riddle in the video? Because I feel like a lot of people don't get it.
I felt like it was too fucked up. I feel like YouTube would have been like,
I mean, maybe.
So the
yeah.
answer is that the Boy Scout goes home from camp.
Right. Yeah. No, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
No,
the head of it.
Wow, so it's a Holocaust joke. That is, I mean, okay. You've, like, Ethan's literally made Holocaust jokes before on his show. It's not in good taste. It's a joke at, like, the expense of Jewish people's experiences in the Holocaust, right? But once again, is that the best he has? Like, if we're comparing his behavior to this person's behavior, which is worse? Okay, but whatever. Like, okay, that was the thing. He literally just put up that tweet and it's like, this is so anti-Semitic. And it's like, I have no context for this. I don't even know what it means. And then Ethan Klein, like a week later, explains what it means and it's a Holocaust joke. Okay, man. Okay. You could have just said she makes Holocaust jokes. But I don't know. That seems like, I guess it wouldn't really have proved his point that he was going for.
Inclusive marketing, in fact.
but that's my point. Is I feel like it did not hit the way it should have because I think that it's a little too obtuse of a reference.
It's,
for a lot of
okay,
people.
Interesting.
But yeah, that was.
I genuinely felt like it was too
shocked
racist.
me.
It was so
Shocked me for
racist
sure.
that YouTube would have said something. Actually, let me pull up the video because I don't want to do her the. I owe her at least the dignity of giving her credit for that spicy hot.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying in the chat that they didn't
Yes,
get it the first
the
time.
difference between a Boy Scout and a Jewish kid is that the Boy Scouts go home from camp. Marketing, in fact.
But that's my point.
How
is I feel
fantastic
like
is that, guys? Let's see.
Jimmy Lee 101 joke.
I mean, yeah, you literally included, hey, thanks for the super chat. Number one most important way of advocating voting for Kamala Harris is as if Hasan wasn't kicked out of her DNC for talking to an uncommitted representative. Is that actually why Hasan left? But yeah, exactly. It's like Hasan was literally advocating for Kamala Harris. He was begging her to change her campaign strategy, which would have gotten her more votes, and the DNC completely ignored her. And once again, I think that all of this Islamophobia stuff, or anti-Palestinian advocates, because the Palestinian advocates, even if they suggested to vote for Kamala Harris, they might not have been 100% on board with her, and they might have been like, yeah, I think she's the lesser of two evils, so I'm going to vote for her. That's famously what Sam Cedar was talking about the entirety of this 2024 election cycle. Notably, Ethan Klein isn't really talking about how Sam Cedar was kind of down on Kamala Harris when she was trying to run for election. He doesn't talk about anything that Sam Cedar does. And I think that my conversation with Matt Lieb was really kind of like eye-opening with that, because he talked about how he's been treated as a person who is Jewish and advocating for the end of Israeli apartheid. And he talks about how like a Jewish anti-Zionist is it's something that Israel hates the most. And I think that's true for other liberal Zionists as well. Ethan Klein doesn't want to acknowledge that there are Jewish people out there that are anti-Zionist and that do disagree with Ethan Klein. That is why he was so quick to respond to the idea that one guy that was sitting next to Frogan in that podcast clip that he used in the Nuke was Jewish, so quick to respond to him and so quick to dismiss him by calling him a token Jew. And I think we can actually like take a look at that right now. So we'll look a bit of cringe from Ethan here, and then we have here.
So, I mean, this is a point I see a lot where it's like denying Jewish heritage in the Middle East. These people are from the Middle East. They've lived there for thousands of fucking years. And, you know, it's just really fucked up to the bigotry that I see. And it's passed off. It's almost passed off not even as like anything controversial. It's like a leftist talking point with these people. Like it's just part of the like colonial oppressor-oppressed narrative. They're like, yeah, no, you know, they're just stealing. They just came and they're stealing everybody's culture. And look at these fucking Jews with their hummus. What a bunch of fucking cultural genociders. That guy actually said that.
Dude, the fact that they have the audacity to create sub-reddits.
This is casual bigotry being passed around like a leftist talking point. It's exactly why people are saying that anti-Semitism is coming
That's
mostly
literally
from
what I said.
You pre-watched
the left.
this.
And yes, I know this dipshit.
Oh yeah, this is the joke I wanted you guys to say, because this guy's a fucking douchebag, and he's like, They go, did you really call him a token Jew? I can't believe you said that. It's like, yeah, he is a fucking token Jew. He's sitting there with a bunch of friends joking about how fucking Jews in the Middle East are stealing hummus as a cultural heritage. Yeah, you're a token, bitch.
And yes, I know this dipshit is also Jewish. Incredible. He picked up so many tokens, he actually became one. And by the way,
You're proud of that line word.
Oh my god, dude. I can't get over it, man. Ethan is so proud of himself. Like, of course, this entire episode is just him jerking off. But when he pauses that and then he looks to his crew for affirmation, that was one of the worst jokes that I've heard in a long time. And the fact that look, it's kind of a funny thing if it's an ironically bad joke. Like, it's so bad, but I'm going to ironically say it, and it's actually kind of funny. But Ethan actually thought that it was a good joke. Like, in the video, I'm just like, okay, like, that joke was dumb. I'm just going to ignore it. But Ethan specifically plays this clip back and then is like, hey, it was good, right? It's good, right? Like, once again, I don't know if he's being ironic. Like, oh, that joke sucked so much, but I'm going to pretend it's good. And the humor comes from me pretending this joke was good.
Cultural heritage. Yeah, you're a token, bitch.
and yes, I know this dipshit is also Jewish. Incredible. He picked up so many tokens, he actually became one. And by the way,
like, that doesn't make any sense. He picks up so many tokens. Like, is he implying he's in a video game or something? Like, the joke doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I fucking hate being like a joke police, but the joke doesn't make sense. What is the context for him picking up tokens? Maybe if he was like in an arcade, if Ethan showed him in an arcade and he like dropped a bag of tokens and he's scrambling around picking up tokens and he's like, he picked up so many tokens, he finally became one. That would be funny.
Also Jewish. Incredible. He picked up so many tokens, he actually became one. And by the way,
you're proud of that line, weren't you?
I didn't get any kudos for that.
Yeah, because it fucking sucked.
I thought it was funny.
It's a good joke. What can I say?
Thank you.
No, it's not a good joke. You can say it's not a good joke, right? Or are you going to get fired if you say it's not a good joke?
The one that I wasn't sure if people enjoyed, I loved it when I said.
Anyway, so when we're going to talk about Israel doing a cultural genocide on Palestinian culture, well, I think that's kind of undeniably true. Israel has really, like, Zionist propaganda has really attacked even the concept of Palestinian people. I have to show you a video. I have to show you guys a video really quick. YouTube. Jewish expulsion from Arab countries. The expulsion of Jews from Arab and Muslim countries. This is Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry. So when we're going to talk about cultural genocide, I think it's an interesting perspective if we're going to look at Palestinians through the lens of Israeli propaganda. So let's take a look at this quick 3-minute long video by the Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry YouTube channel.
1945. World War II is finally over. Europe is filled with tens of millions of refugees. 2 years later, Great Britain lost control of Southeast Asia. India and Pakistan win independence, and 7 million Muslim refugees exchange places with 7 million Hindi refugees. Today, not one of these people is a refugee. Not one. They have integrated into their host countries and built new lives. And then there are the Palestinians.
So just right off the bat, I know we're going to talk about cultural erasure with this video, but right off the bat, I have to point out how this video frames an ethnic divide between religious groups of people as a positive thing, like a colonial power coming in, laying down an arbitrary dividing line between two, but in just an area that's shared by two people and causing massive refugee displacement is a positive thing. We're 36 seconds into the video and they've already described the divide between India and Pakistan as a good thing. This is Israeli propaganda.
In 1947, the United Nations presented a partition plan for the Jewish homeland. The Arabs gave a resounding no to that plan. They rejected a state for themselves if it meant also giving a state to the Jews. 6 Arab states attacked the fledgling Jewish state. which was small but plucky and determined to survive. In the meantime, many of the Arab inhabitants left their homes because of the war and the promise by Arab leaders that the Jews would be defeated quickly. They planned to return when they won the war and the Jews had been thrown into the sea. Determined to survive. In the meantime, many of the Arab inhabitants left their homes because of the war and the promise by Arab leaders that the Jews would be defeated quickly. They planned to return when they won the war and the Jews had been thrown into the sea.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about any of the just straight up genocide that Israeli settlers did when they first came to Palestine. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to say that Arab inhabitants left their homes because of the war. That's how they describe the Nakba. Once again, this is cultural erasure when you describe the people that were living in Israel before Jewish people came there, before basically European settlers came there, as Arab inhabitants.
To their great surprise, they lost. Several 100,000 Arabs had become refugees. Later on,
they just happened to become refugees, and they became refugees because of their own agency. They were the Arabs that attacked Israel, and they lost, and then they became refugees. What? We lost? We're suddenly refugees now? This is not only like a historical and erasing history, but it's obviously like glossing over all. It's not even glossing over Israel's war crimes. It's just completely ignoring them. And then also, this is more cultural erasure.
They would be called Palestinian refugees.
And they would be called Palestinian refugees for no reason. We just, after they became refugees, that's when we stuck the label of Palestinian onto them.
On the other hand, at about the same time, 850,000 Jews were forced out of their homes all over the Middle East. They had lived in the Arab world for thousands of years, but when the Arabs were defeated and the State of Israel was established, it was too much for the Arab regimes, and they showed their Jews the door. Therefore, you could say that the Arabs and the Israelis exchanged populations, much like in Europe after World War II, and much like the Hindus and Muslims in India and Pakistan, and leave things at that. But the Arabs aren't willing to leave things at that. If they had, the Arab states would have done what Israel did a long time ago with the Jews from Arab states: integrate the Palestinians into their society and provide them with citizenship. Wow, what a not revolutionary idea! So why weren't they given citizenship or any other rights? The Palestinians were deliberately kept as refugees so that they could be used as a weapon in the war against Israel.
Yeah, and then this is the whole idea of like Palestinian crisis actors. Oh, look at us, we're so poor, we're so we're getting killed so much, guys. And this is a prevalent narrative even through today, where you'll look at Lonerbox, you'll look at guys like Destiny, being like, oh, these guys are obviously just acting. They're getting shot on purpose so that they can upload those videos to social media and get more people to feel sorry for them. That's a very prevalent Zionist talking point. And then also this whole idea of, oh, why aren't the Arabs just going to other Arabs? They're just differentiating them and calling them Palestinians. It's like, okay, well, not everybody in Arab states is the same culture. These people want to live in the places where they grew up and where literally like people's houses are being occupied by Israeli settlers. So it's not. This is just cultural erasure when you are describing every Arab as the same to every other Arab, and you're going to say, well, why can't Arabs just take them in? Why can't Iran take them in? Or why can't Egypt take it in? Or Lebanon? They're Arabs. Palestinians are Arabs. The Egyptians are Arabs. Should be the exact same thing. And it's like, okay, well, Israel's also fucking Arab, so why doesn't Israel take them in? Why doesn't Israel stop killing these people? Okay, let's just finish this 30 seconds.
Palestinians, who supposedly want to establish an independent state, struggle at the same time to send their refugees to live in Israel. a different state. Can Israel, a country with only 6 million Jews, allow millions of Palestinian refugees to come and take over the only Jewish homeland?
Okay, so they say a state with only, what, 2 million Jews? That's what they said?
Palestinian refugees to live in Israel, a different state. Can Israel, a country with only 6 million Jews, allow...
So they're like, 6 million Jews, can they allow millions of Palestinians to come in and take over their homeland? Yeah. Just once again, it's like Ethan Klein is willing to talk about how Arab culture is similar to Jewish culture Palestinian culture is similar to Israeli culture because they're both Arabs, right? But then you get propaganda like this where they are very clearly differentiating Israeli culture from Palestinian culture. And not only Palestinian culture, but other Arab states. We can listen about how... we can listen about Arab Jews giving their experience growing up in Israel and the idea that they felt discriminated against because they were Arab, and the whole prevailing mood in Israel is that European culture is superior to Arab culture, because we have to keep in mind that even with as many Arab Jews living in Israel as there are also a lot of European Jews living in Israel. And of course, the country of Israel is going to identify more with Europe and identify more with the United States than they are with the surrounding Arab nations. And that's simply because they're allies with Europe and the United States, and they're at war with the surrounding Arab nations. So why wouldn't they? Like, if you are constantly at war with your Arab neighbors, you're going to think that, like, oh, I identify more with, like, Western culture, like American culture, like UK culture. So that's pretty obvious. It's a Zionist talking point to completely erase any kind of culture or history that Palestinians have to the area. Because when you erase culture, history, and their historic ties to the land, it becomes easier to justify displacing these people. When you erase from the public consciousness the deep ties that Palestinians have to the land that, like, they lived in before Israeli settlers came, Zionist settlers came, it becomes way easier to justify it. There's simply not as much pushback. There's not as many people being like, okay, well, like, why are we removing these people? They've lived there forever. But if you can just say that these are just Arabs that happen to live there, and why aren't the other Arab states taking it in? That's a pretty easy and racist talking points that Zionists can use. And so when Ethan Klein says that it's racist for Frogan to talk about Israel erasing the culture of Palestinians and saying that hummus is actually an Israeli food, you have to think Israel's only, like, what, 75 years old? And if you're saying that hummus, which is an ancient food, is Israeli, that is an ahistoricism that does erase culture from other Arab countries. And that is why Palestinians, who are an oppressed group of people, are going to get very upset when they hear that their occupier is now claiming that a food that they identify with belongs to them and has been perfected by Israeli. And we can even hear Ethan Klein say here that, like, oh, I think that Israeli hummus is, like, cleaner than other Arab hummus. So let's take a look at that. We'll see here. Let's get into this.
I can't believe you said that. It's like, yeah, he is a fucking token Jew. He's sitting there with a bunch of friends joking about how fucking Jews in the Middle East are stealing hummus as a cultural heritage. Yeah, you're a token, bitch. And yes, I know this dipshit is also Jewish. Incredible. He picked up so many tokens, he actually became one. And by the way,
you're proud of that line, weren't you?
I didn't get any kudos for that. I thought it was funny.
It's a good joke. What can I say?
Thank you. The other one that I wasn't sure if people enjoyed, I loved it when I said, I was talking about the pike. And
hey, Moza, that's amazing. Yeah, that's super brave, like, going to Gaza right now. So Shout out to your nurse. She's a hero.
As Hasan likes to call it, a pike for a...
Yeah.
Did you guys know what the joke was?
I got what you meant. I got what you meant.
Bro, how do you yell at a Twitch employee for making a Holocaust joke, something that Ethan's done countless amounts of times, and then like 2 minutes later say a K slur joke and like ascribe it to Hasan? How does this make any sense? Once again, Ethan doesn't actually have like a moral position here. His only position is, I'm going to try to attack anything potentially surrounding Hasan, because then I can try to make my shit stick to Hasan.
I thought that was funny.
It was a little edgy. Your absolute favorite didn't make the cut, and I am very glad about that.
Well, we can talk about the delays and stuff, because again, the conspiracy theorists, they were like, what were they saying? That
I don't care about
ridiculous.
Destiny.
You increase the I don't know if XQC is considered reactionary, but
I don't.
No, he's not. He's actually not.
XQC is above all of this.
Actually, I've seen. I'm gonna say
he's on his own plane.
I've seen XQC with some really good takes. Other than the gambling thing, I think he's pretty level-headed. He's got good takes.
I have a few clips of XQC in the doc, and I'm very excited because I gotta warn you, Ethan. He fucking owned you. He fucking owned you.
You watched,
same fucking Arabic speaking Jews that you kicked out in the 1950s. Yes, they also like hummus, and they like all the same shit you do, because they are you. They're from your country. You kicked them all out, and now you're accusing them of stealing your culture. You want to talk about cultural genocide? Well, here it is. You racist piece of shit.
Those motherfuckers trying to take hummus and say it's Israeli is the most insane thing to me.
Hey, scumbag, here's a hummus place we used to eat at. The chef is from Yemen. Here's another dude from Syria. Does this dude look like a white colonizer to you? Would you like to tell him he's stealing your culture? Well, this is what most Israelis look like.
I also love this from Ethan, where he's like, hummus is an Israeli food. Here's the proof. A guy from Yemen made hummus. A guy from Syria made hummus. It's like, okay, so you can say Israel's a melting pot, but to say that it's a purely Israeli food is erasing culture from these other Arab states. When you have to highlight that he's a Yemeni or that he's Syrian, then you're kind of admitting that it's like, no, these other states do have like a deeper tie to hummus, and sure, you can acknowledge the idea that Israel is a melting pot, but that's not really what you're highlighting here. What these people are talking about is combating a narrative that hummus is an Israeli food, end of story. That's the narrative that they're trying to combat. Ethan Klein comes in and is like, you say that hummus is not purely an Israeli food and actually like belongs to other Arab states? Well, here's some examples of hummus being created from people.
Footage of Israeli chefs that I knew. But if you go to a hummus place.
How did you even have? So wait, the first one was a place that you.
Yeah, it's a famous hummus spot.
Got it.
I mean, there's a ton of hummus spots. It's just like all these other fucking the Arab countries. Like people love hummus, and they say, "Oh, it's shit." No, it's not. It's fucking delicious. Okay, I've had Lebanese hummus. There's Lebanese fucking Jews and people that live in Israel, and they have their like you can taste the different regional hummuses and how they are. Like I've noticed that in the Lebanese put like for my taste too much lemon juice. Like they like.
I mean, just once again, this would be like an American pointing to good Mexican food spots in America and saying that fajitas are an American food, or pointing to good ramen spots and saying that ramen is American food. Right? This is what we're talking about. Okay. And I'm not talking about pizza, where Americans took like the idea of pizza from Italy and actually changed it. And I think you can argue that the pizza in America is different enough from the pizza in Italy, and there's different associations there. And you can say now that pizza is American food. I mean, it's so fucking obvious what we're talking about. When the prevailing narrative is that hummus is Israeli, that can piss off people that have grown up in these countries surrounding Israel and being like, Israel was just created 75 years ago. Hummus has been in my family and in my country, like represented by my country for thousands of years. And now you're saying that it's Israeli? Go fuck yourself. And your example of hummus in Israel is Syrian hummus or Lebanese hummus or Yemeni hummus. You are admitting it's not Israeli. Israel's a younger country than the United States, and the United States barely has any food that it can call its own. What do we have, like burgers and Diet Coke? And we're going to say that, once again, like this whole hummus gate is just completely ridiculous, but Ethan thinks that he really has something here, and it couldn't be further from the truth, man. It could not be further from the truth.
Get more sour.
Oh, I like it that way.
So I don't like that.
I usually add some.
Yeah, and I like having the option to add, but they dump it like pre-dump it, you know. And I like the Israeli way where they make it. It's just like a perfect. middle, nice, clean. But anyway, yeah, this is what the people in hummus look like. It's not like
the people in hummus look like. This is what the people in hummus look like. Also, what the fuck do you mean? I like it the Israeli way. You've shown 2 examples of people getting hummus, and you said they were Syrian and Yemeni. And now you're saying I like the Israeli hummus? Show us the Israeli hummus, okay? Show us the Israel. Is it going to be European style hummus? What is Israeli hummus, Ethan?
It's not like a bunch of Sephardic Polish fucking people cooking.
He said he likes it. He likes Israeli hummus because it's clean and down the middle. But then he cut himself off. Anyway, that's just like a funny example. Ethan really thinks he nailed Frogan to the wall and said that the guy from the Do Not Worry podcast, Anthony, is anti-Semitic for saying that. But it's just so crazy, man. Okay, Twitch's hypocrisy and Mike from PA. I really don't care about that. Explaining the end of the nuke, the adpocalypse on YouTube versus Twitch. I don't really care about that either. Bathroom break and crew talk. Hasan's reaction and response. Let's just listen to this part because I thought this part was interesting. So, also, it's fucking hilarious. Ethan's like, Hasan is so misogynistic because he said I'm crying like a bitch. When at the beginning of this episode, he says that this woman is a bitch for making a Holocaust joke.
There's just so much happening in this video. But here she is. Let's see here. There's 2 wonderful people I'd like to give a shout out to.
Completely flatlined.
There was other
time. It was announced that Sneeko, Fresh and Fit, and
small business, if you were thinking about running a small.
Anyway, so we saw earlier that he called her a bitch. Does he play Denham's response at all? Or does he play Frogan's response? Guys, you need to... Oh, sorry, the audio's cutting out. Okay, hopefully the audio's working good. Let me know. Let me check my settings really quick. Audio test. Looks like my audio is good here. You got to put the fried bacon on the funnel cake like a true American to top. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even know how much Sabra hummus sucked until I had a hummus made from a Lebanese grocer that sold homemade stuff. I can't even eat Sabra now. So something that I also need to talk about is Sabra. Is that Sabra is literally a city in Gaza. So when we're talking about Sabra, Ethan Klein is like, obviously what Frogan meant is that it means a Jewish person born in Israel. And I guess that's what Sabra hummus is named after, but it's also a neighborhood district in western Gaza. It was established during the mandatory Palestine period in Palestine. It contains the city's municipal mark, built in the 1930s south of Omar Mukhtar Street. An UNRWA health center is located in the neighborhood. During the Israel-Hamas war, the IDF killed dozens of Palestinians in the neighborhood. So yeah, it's also like a neighborhood in Israel. So once again, Ethan Klein being like, oh, Hasan is saying he didn't know that Sabra meant Jew born in Israel. He's such a liar. Like, bro, there's so many different meanings of Sabra. And I actually wonder, Sabra hummus, does it say, let's see, it's about us. Does it say how it got its name? Is it named for the person born in Israel? Our values. It's been crafting delicious dips and spreads for North American consumers since its origin in Queens, New York. So it literally originated in America, and it's for North American consumers. Once again, Sabra Hummus really is not an Israeli company whatsoever. It just donates to the IDF. Sabra's Hummus, Sabra and Obella are currently 50-50 joint ventures that have been formed between PepsiCo and Strauss Group to manufacture, distribute, and sell refrigerated. I guess Strauss Group might be Israeli. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, the whole hummus gate is hilarious. And I think Ethan Klein is just like so off base when he's criticizing people for being against Sabra hummus. Let's take a look at this. This is funny. So this whole thing is Hasan's response. If you want to see Hasan's response, you can just go watch it. But what I thought was funny is Hasan responds to this like list of 52 lies that was found in the video. And I think it's funny watching Ethan's response to these lies.
Like a bunch.
He was always
I watched the show on MTV when I was like 12 years old.
He was always friends with the weirdest motherfuckers, though. Like, he was friends with Keemstar and all those people.
Oh, yeah, he's just been around. He's been everywhere. It's awesome.
He was part of that like Ice Poseidon crew too, right? Like,
yeah, that was another thing where I was like, what? I don't know.
One of my favorite like live stream moments are Andy and Tom Green.
My brain is so
fucking funny. They're great.
I love Tom Green.
Yeah, no, it's 10 out of 10 Tom Green.
Lies without checking any of it. Let's go to Let's not watch it. We're We have a little more time, so I'll watch this. Hasan reads some random Reddit post listing Ethan's lies without checking any of it. Let's see.
My son reads some random Reddit post listing Ethan's lies without checking any of it. How is this a serious person? And what's funny is like Ethan's going to read through the lies and not check any of it too, but...
The list of lies made by Ethan Klein.
By the way, let's not watch it. We're going to talk about it on stream all day. So we clearly have enough time. I mean, Hasan's live like 8 to 10 hours every day. The guy has fucking time to do whatever he wants. We're not going to watch it. What we're going to do is go to H3 Snark subreddit. I don't know if this is this. I don't know what this subreddit is. And, or it's a Twitter copy pasta.
Well, there's a Twitter post. The screenshot seems to be from Reddit.
It's got to be from Snark.
Lies counter 52. Racking them up, dude.
You know who's the last one?
Like, dude, Ethan, I watched your video. You didn't have any substantial points. I mean, the only point you have is that it's against Twitch's terms of service to watch, like, Houthi music videos. And Hasan got a talking to from the Twitch staff and said he wouldn't do it again. So it's like, okay, you called him out for breaking the terms of service. There were repercussions from that terms of service, and Hasan has since adjusted his behavior to avoid doing those terms of service. How are you making like 100-minute long video talking about this? It's the most nothing burger you can even think of. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to play over and over and over again that Hasan violated these TOS. That is just, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watching right now saw my conversation with that like liberal H3 fan where I'm like, okay, well, would you say it's misinformation if Hasan has said since watching those videos that he doesn't support the Houthis? And then the fan was like, well, it doesn't matter because he did watch those music videos. I'm like, okay, at this point, what are we going to do, man? Like, Hasan watched a propaganda video for the Houthis one time. He's always stood against, like, civilian violence. He's always stood up for sovereignty of people resisting against imperial nations. What can we do? What, like, from here, Ethan's literally just spreading misinformation by saying that Hasan is, like, a terrorist lover, right? That's what he's doing. He's already, there's no repercussions that he could possibly have Hasan get because Hasan's already dealt with the repercussions for watching those and like violating the TOS. It's just crazy. Like, I feel like we are witnessing a departure from reality by these people, by Ethan. And we know that he's willing to forego his ties to reality to try to get Hasan taken down a peg or two.
We did that. Fresh and fit, baby.
Oh, true.
Raw lies counter. Yeah. So let's see what's their epic rebuttal to my video. Let's see.
Claims communism is on the rise. From Elon Nazi saluting at Trump's inauguration to the AfD in Germany, communism is clearly not on the rise.
That wasn't really a central point.
I love this too. It's like, okay, well, you had a lot of misinformation in your video. Let's take a look at this. And point number 1, this is where Ethan Klein lies in the first 2 minutes of the video. And then Ethan says, that's not a central point. Okay, so you're just admitting you were lying then, right? Right, Ethan? Like, you're just admitting that's a lie. If your defense for that is, well, that's not a central point, then you actually have no defense for it. And obviously it's not a central point because that's not the only thing listed. Why would you even say that's not a central point? He's just trying anything to defend himself right now. It's the exact same thing. I've had multiple conversations with H3 fans, and they're like, what do you have? What are the issues you have in the video? Like I can sit here and text out thousands of words describing everything wrong in the video. I'm like, well, there's a lot of issues. Let me give you one. In this one specific scenario, he lied. Or in this one specific timestamp, he pretty obviously lied. And they're like, he didn't lie there. I'm like, yes, he did. He says that things are A, and you look things up, and things are not A. That is a lie. And he's like, okay, fine, he lied, but that's not the central point of the video. That's a pretty minor thing to bring up. I'm like, bro, this is... I fucking lose my mind talking to people like this, because if we're going to talk about the central thesis of the video, then we should actually talk about the central thesis of the video. But if we're going to list out a bunch of specific micro points, and then the entirety of these points taken together will disprove the video, then you can't go through every single point and be like, that's not the central thesis, this isn't the central thesis of the video, and just disregard all of the points based off of that rebuttal, because that's not an actual rebuttal. Okay, let's continue.
That was not a point I made. In fact, even if it was a minuscule part of the video. My point was that there are online leftist communists that are scary to me, and their ideology is radical and violent and shouldn't be ignored. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Saying that people should have free healthcare is violent, radical, and shouldn't be ignored. I agree with the shouldn't be ignored part. And maybe for a capitalist like Ethan Klein, saying that people should have free healthcare is radical. But where's the violence coming into this? Please, I want Ethan so bad to trot out the Ben Shapiro argument, where if you say, if healthcare is right, that basically enslaves doctors because you're being told that you have to work for people. So now doctors are slaves. I can't wait for Ethan to bring out that argument.
Like, we're all well aware of the radical psychopaths on the right, like, you know, but amongst like, we ignore what's happening in Hasan and his community. That's my point.
And then this is another thing that I need to talk about, and I beg you guys to keep in the forefront of your minds when we're talking about H3 and Ethan Klein's misinformation that he's putting out there. Ethan Klein is very associated with leftist people and liberal people online. Thus, he has a bias when he's addressing issues that he sees in his media timeline. Of course, he is going to be biased to criticizing leftist and liberal people compared to conservative people, just because he sees them or he has a closer proximity to them. That being said, he seems completely unaware of this bias, and the amount of misinformation that he's putting out there is basically saying communists equal far-right conservative radicals. And then you take a look at that and you think for a second and you say, well, there are no communists in any kind of political position whatsoever in this country, and the conservative radicals are running this country into the ground right now. And you are making the comparison of communists who want good things and have no power to conservative radicals who want bad things and have all of the power right now. And you are making this false conflation. That is misinformation that he is sending out to his audience. Maligning Hasan as a terrorist sympathizer is misinformation that he's sending out to his audience. And then also saying that there is more anti-Semitism coming from the left than there is coming from the right is misinformation that he is sending to his audience. He is completely caught up in his own biases against Hasan and against the left, and as a result is sending out misinformation. And that is a big reason why I am covering Ethan Klein, to try to push against this misinformation, because it's simply not true and it's completely delusional when we are in a time in our country where we literally have anti-Semitic, far-right, conservative nutjobs that worship oligarchs running the country. And when you have this level of political analysis from a guy like Ethan, you are doing yourself a disservice. So, like, I would actually be mad if I was an audience member of Ethan Klein and I see him continuously conflating communists to, like, these conservatives that are actually in control of the country right now. I think this is the biggest reason why Ethan Klein is just a negative force in this world right now.
Not that there's like a communist takeover. And again, that's pretty obvious from the video. Talked about it for like 10 seconds.
Hasan never introduced himself as a social democrat.
And that was not my point. My point is he presented himself as a social democrat, which I said, how is this disproving? This is just your opinion.
Hasan never introduced himself as a social democrat, and he says Hasan presented him. Okay, hold on.
You're also kind of borderline teetering on what would most people say is socialism, my guy. Like,
wait, what? Let me tell you something about myself then. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't think that the capitalist organization of the economy is adequate. We don't need to have that conversation. But yes,
no, there's no way you believe in that. Hey, listen, I'm one of the biggest pocket watchers ever known to man. Like, I've already summed you up in what you make. And I sum up rappers,
Okay, so we don't need to play the rest of that, but this is Ethan Klein right now.
you're also kind of borderline teetering on what would most people say is socialism, my guy.
I love, that's such a good clip. You're also borderline teetering on what most people say is socialism, my guy. Like, he's being so gentle about it. But I just have to point out here that DJ Academics, who doesn't even know stuff about music, was able to comprehend that Hasan is a socialist. And Ethan didn't understand that at all. DJ Academics was able to ascertain that Hasan had anti-capitalist stances, and Ethan thought that Hasan was just a social democrat, and that he carried himself as a social democrat. You're not doing yourself a service, Ethan, when you say that Hasan presented himself as a social democrat and he tricked you into believing that he was a liberal just like you. Like, this is just a comical lack of understanding of Hasan's political positions. And I don't even think it is a lack of understanding. I think Ethan is just rewriting history in his brain to make Hasan look as bad as possible in his mind. But the issue is, Hasan has been consistent on his positions for years now at this point. And so when Ethan's rewriting history in his brain and saying that Hasan made himself appear like a social democrat, Hasan did all of these things to make himself look good, and now he's just admitting that he's a propagandist and manipulating liberals into becoming more socialist, and he's treating everyone with kitty gloves and hiding his power level. Hasan's really this mastermind. It's like Hasan's been very open and consistent with everything that he's been doing, talking about the type of propaganda that he puts out there, talking about the goals of the propaganda and the goals of his political advocacy. And Ethan's not understanding that. So when Ethan rewrites things in his brain, other people aren't doing the same thing, and they see what Ethan's talking about, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Hasan presents himself as a social democrat? What are you saying, Ethan? Like, this doesn't make any sense, Ethan. So other people aren't doing the same kind of rewriting in their brains as Ethan, and that's why you get Ethan like really departing from reality.
This is just some person's opinion.
It's a lie.
And also, like, this is like factually the opinion.
I love this too. He's saying that Hasan never introduced himself as a social democrat, and Ethan says, this is just some person's opinion. Those words can be used to sum up the entirety of your video. This is just some person's opinion. That's the perfect description on your video. Like, actually, you should change the description in your Hasan content nuke video to that. This is just some person's opinion.
He presented himself as a social democrat, which I said, how is this disproving? This is just your opinion. This is just some person's opinion.
It's a lie.
And also, like, this is like factually, this stuff is also irrelevant to like the main points of my video. Actually, he never explicitly said he was a...
Okay, so there we go. This is going to be Ethan's like go-to defense of all of these lies. This is just like your opinion, bro. And then also, this is irrelevant to the main thesis of my video. And then when we get to the things that you can say are the main theses of Ethan's videos, he just completely ignores them, which is hilarious. Let's watch.
Social democrat. It's like, okay, we'll talk about the tariffs, which was the main point of the video. Explicitly said he was a social democrat. It's like, okay, we'll talk about the tariffs, which was the main point of the video.
Okay, so the main point of the video was the terrorists that I guess Hasan went for, and we'll see what Ethan's reactions is when we get to the actual main point of the video.
Hasan talked about education programs, not re-education camps. Hasan never.
Ooh, he never said. Wait, hold on. Is that even true?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, he literally said
in the video he says re-education.
Yeah, he says re-education. He wants.
Yeah, he never said re-education camps. Ethan Klein literally put those words into Hasan's mouth. Like, when you're talking about re-education camps, that implies violence to basically forcibly remove people from society and put them into re-education camps. Obviously, what the fuck are we going to talk about when we're saying, okay, well, this person's ideas are bad. How should we avoid that person's ideas? What are we going to do? Like, this is a very difficult question to answer that literally no one has found an answer to, because if we have an answer to this, then we'd be living in a utopia by now. So obviously, when we talk about education, that's going to involve having proper education of history and political and socioeconomic issues through school and college, like free college. We're going to talk about like a good education that like properly sets people up to experience the world. We're going to talk about that shit. And then also, like propaganda, having a good, robust media that can shine a light to power and shine a light to injustices in the world. That's also going to be very important. Both of those are forms of education, even forms of re-education.
He said he wants to arrest people.
To do re-education. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see what he said if he just blows past it. But I don't think he would even deny.
No, he does.
He stated that position a few times.
He will deny it because it makes him look bad, and whatever he wants to wield as reality, he does. And there's like zero tethering to the earth.
Education camps. Hasan never runs full defense of China, especially regarding their treatment of the Uyghurs.
Would you like to show me an example of how he doesn't run defense for the Uyghurs? Or are you just going to say that? That's amazing, man. How are you reading this? This isn't serious.
Defense for the Uyghurs. Once again, Ethan Klein even like properly repeat the sentence back to him. Hasan, China, AP article. Let's just see really quick. I found this clip earlier. Hasan reacts to Mike OK. Hasan, China. Let's just see this. Uyghur. Go to videos. Let's just do Hasan on the China versus Taiwan explained. I visited China's most controversial region. Damn, where's that clip that I found earlier? I'll just look it up real quick. Let's go to my own channel just because I found it earlier. We'll even go to my live, and we'll go to this one, which was funny.
Or execution.
And I think it was like pretty, oh yeah, right here.
%90 of people that look at the Western forces. So when
Chinese propaganda on this, and has regurgitated it to his mainstream audience. Why?
Okay, so let's just pause it there. So Ethan said where Hasan reacts to it. Oh my God, let's find out.
Why did you say there was a genocide in Xinjiang? I said there was a cultural genocide in Xinjiang, and I do still think that there is one in the form of re-education camps, mass surveillance, and gross human rights violations. My perspective on that has still not changed.
Wait, what? Yeah, so obviously, like, he admits that there's a cultural genocide going on there, and he was just making fun of the idea that Ethan Klein watched, like, a documentary and is saying that there's, like, organs from Uyghur Muslims on the black market that you can buy, and like I guess there's no evidence of that, and so he didn't really give that the time of day when they were doing their Leftovers podcast. But you can pretty easily find Hasan talking about the cultural genocide of Uyghurs in China.
Serious at all. This is so not serious. I showed in my video how you did run defense for China with their Uyghur genocide. If you would like to defend yourself, I would love to see you do so to the points I actually made. Whatever the fuck this is.
Ethan shares an edited clip that cuts out where Hasan explains that he cannot control his chat from calling Ethan a racist for saying racist things.
Okay, who gives a fuck? I don't even know what you're talking about. It's immaterial, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's another one of these annoying little parts about this back and forth and this drama, which is that like the conversation I had with Ethan.
Chimp. I see about how he streamer. We did it to allow them.
Interpret is only so much I can do and leaves out. If you continue to say things like this, people are going to think you believe them and get mad at you. Yeah. Shows a random clip of someone being
immaterial. I don't know what I showed. I probably showed everything. If I didn't, I think it's
once again the first like 6 points that we've seen here. Ethan's just said immaterial. This doesn't matter at all. It's irrelevant to the main point of the video.
It's immaterial. It's very transparent. It's so fucking dumb. An hour 40 minutes of well-researched, sourced, thoughtful arguments, and this is the fucking
14 pages.
14 got 140 pages.
Once again, why are they talking about the length of the video? The length of the video is not something that you should show as proof that the video is good. It's actually a detriment to the video. You have so much dead weight, and that's why there are so many criticisms addressing things that you say are immaterial to the main thesis of the video. Well, if it's immaterial to the main thesis, why would you include it, Ethan? Like, you should understand how to make compact and concise videos that make sense. What, do you think you're Donald Trump and you're doing the weave? Okay, and now we're going to weave into how Hasan has said that he wasn't a communist, but he actually is. Now we're going to weave into how Hasan hates liberals. Now we're going to weave into how Twitch hates Jews, actually, because this one person that worked for Twitch one time made a Holocaust joke, and I didn't even fully explain what the Holocaust joke, that it was a Holocaust joke. She just mentioned Jews. It's like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, so once again, this is just Ethan being stupid. This is Ethan not really being someone who's good at media. And also, you're criticizing these people for saying immaterial things, like irrelevant things to the main point of your video, but they're addressing other clips that you included in your video. So why would you include these things that are irrelevant to the main point? And obviously we know why, right? I'm like saying why rhetorically. The real answer why he would include all of these other things is he really only feels strongly about labeling Hasan as like a terrorist lover. But the reason he includes all of these other things is because he doesn't think that's enough. Even though that's his strongest point, he still doesn't think that's enough to entirely malign Hasan to where he feels it's appropriate. And so he uses all of these other things, which are basically just personal feelings that Ethan has, to try to make Hasan look bad. It's essentially framing their extremely weak points. Ethan even acknowledges that they are weak points, because if these criticisms of the points were not valid, Ethan would actually push back against these criticisms and explain why the criticisms are wrong. So far, all that we have for why these criticisms are wrong is Ethan saying, well, that's just like your opinion, bro, or that's irrelevant. Why are you including that criticism? Because it's irrelevant.
And for Christ's sake, this is like the lowest effort. Hold on, I just got to the bottom. One of the lies is Kaya is not a designer dog. She's a mixed Tibetan Mastiff, Chow Chow, and Saint Bernard. Meticulously argued document. That's one of the fucking lies in this video that you think's important, that undermines it. By the way, just show me the Craigslist post. That's all I want to see. They're giving away free puppies of beautiful dogs that would usually cost $20,000.
Wait, what the fuck? He's actually arguing that I thought this was a joke. He's actually arguing that Hasan has like a designer dog. What? Once again, to quote Ethan, irrelevant, immaterial. Why even bring it up? Seriously, why would you be bringing this up? This just makes you look bad, dude.
Just saying, show me the Craigslist post. That should be easy. If he found it on Craigslist, it's probably still got it in his email.
Being anti-Semitic claims Hasan does not care about Israelis because of his lack of reaction. Hasan never justifies sexual violence. He routinely says it's sexual violence.
I have a whole compilation of him downplaying the sexual violence. Like, you can watch it.
Oh, damn. Comrade Casey's in chat. Comrade Casey, let me know if you want to hop on a Discord call and we can talk about this shit.
Likely occurred during October 7th and regularly cites the UN investigation that one credible documented instance of sexual violence. He says that the sexual violence that may have happened on October 7th is not a justification for genocide.
Just watch my video. I have a whole compilation of it. It's quite compelling.
Hasan never said that Israel should let Hamas enter Israel unrestrained.
You did. You said Israel should, in response to one of the worst terrorist attacks of all time, your response is that Israel should dissolve its own government. I mean, that's what a one-state solution is to remove the border. Yes, he wants Hamas and all Palestinians, including everybody, to have full untethered access to Israel. Of course. Why would he even deny that? Isn't that the whole fucking point of the one-state solution? How are we going to keep Hamas out? Yeah, why are you even lying about your position?
Dude, for the record, easiest like 500,000 view video of your life. If you just like look at all of the clips that Ethan used and go on Twitch, go to the VOD and extend the clip by like 30 seconds.
I'm waiting. And say that it would be so powerful if only someone did this. Except nobody's going to do it because it's a lie. But he gets the benefit.
I don't even know what he's talking about here. Is this like I don't understand this conversation. Is Hasan saying someone refuting it could extend the clip? Maybe. Or like find all of the clips that Ethan used and just extend it by like 10 seconds. Also, Vadim, I got your email. I honestly just need to respond to a bunch of emails, so like it's cool. But yeah, thanks for reaching out, guys. It definitely, like, if you have a message you can send to me, send it. It just might take me a while to get back.
Of saying like, I swear to God, it's all taken out of context. And if one of you would just do this, but of course, it won't ever happen because that video would be obscene. It wouldn't work because nothing, I don't think any.
Hey, shout out Majority Report. Did your guys' stream just end? Definitely want to talk to the MR crew too. You guys are MR crew for life.
Anything was taken out of context. Everything I showed was pretty thoroughly like contextualized. But this is what Hasan does all the time. He goes, chip clipped. I got chimp clipped.
What do you keep saying?
Chimp clipped.
Clip chimp.
I got clip chimped.
There you go.
You're saying like chimp clipped or something?
Is it ship clip?
I got chimp clipped.
It's a chip clip.
There's a clip. Go look for the clip.
Almost.
So I don't think this extends the whole way, but if you want to just freeze frame it on the list, if you want to go through and address all of the lies.
We're almost there. Oh, I see.
So this is funny. Dan is like, do you want to actually like address all of the lies? That'd be good. And just once again, Ethan hasn't addressed any of the lies. Like he's been called out for kind of some dumb things. He's been called out for some good things, and he's just ignored all of them.
I'm just saying, like he does. This clip does not go through all of them.
Oh, that's it.
Right.
All right. Let's see my list of lies. Fresh and fit. All right. So we did last.
You're about halfway down.
Hasan never said that Israel should let Hamas in. That's a lie. They do this thing.
Hasan never said that Israel should let Hamas enter Israel unrestrained. Once again, Ethan reads like 3 words of this and then just says that's a lie. So the actual thing is Hasan never said that Israel should let Hamas enter Israel unrestrained. The clip used immediately after this statement is Hasan saying they should democratically remove Netanyahu. Okay. And Ethan just says Hasan never said that they should let Hamas in. That's just a lie.
It's like he never said the words verbatim, let Hamas in Israel unrestrained. It's like.
So this is something that, this is like a pattern that we need to focus on when we're talking about what Ethan Klein does. Ethan Klein will say that Hamas loves terrorism and Hasan loves terrorism and Hasan loves Hamas, and Hasan actually wants Hamas to enter Israel completely unrestrained. And then when people point out that actually supporting resistance groups in their resistance against Israel is not the same as loving terrorism altogether. There are different, like, sometimes resistance groups do good things and Hasan supports that, but then other times they do bad things and Hasan condemns that and he doesn't support it. And then Ethan will say, well, I say Hasan likes terrorism. And then people will point out, well, Hasan never actually said that he supports terrorists, like terrorism, against innocent civilians. And then Ethan will say, okay, well, I guess he never actually like said these words verbatim, but you're just like pointing at flaws in my argument and saying and being like, well, he never actually technically said that. It's like, Ethan, there's a difference between saying he never technically said this and actually pointing out what Hasan means versus what you are ascribing to Hasan. So when you say that Hasan loves the idea that Hamas can enter Israel unrestrained, and then people are pointing that out, that it's like Hasan doesn't actually like the idea of Hamas entering Israel unrestrained. He likes the idea of Palestinians getting equal rights with Israelis. And actually, if they do have equal rights, then the need for Hamas will dissipate and Hamas like won't exist anymore. There will be no longer a need for a violent resistance group to resist against Israel. And Ethan says that, okay, well, he never like said those verbatim, but he actually does believe that. It's like, no, dude, you're misunderstanding their criticism of you. They're not saying that you misquoted Hasan. They're saying you misattributed meaning to the words that Hasan was saying. Okay? So this happens a lot. Like, Ethan will listen to what Hasan says. He'll misattribute meaning to these words because he's like dumb and hateful. And then when people point that out, he'll be like, well, you're just criticizing me because he never literally said these words. It's like, I'm not criticizing you for misquoting him. I'm criticizing you for misrepresenting his positions on important subjects.
Okay. Let's pretend like we don't have functioning fucking brains and like all this. What do you?
Yeah, dude. Let's pretend, man. Okay. Yeah, pretend to have childlike functioning brains, Ethan. Please pretend to do that.
It's like, okay, let's pretend like we don't have functioning fucking brains and like all this. What are you, a robot? Like everything has to be said explicitly. Like that's not how anyone communicates anytime ever. Ethan shows. Yeah, fuck, I got law. Let's see. Ethan tries to attribute global anti-Semitism to Arab nations in the 1948, ignoring the bare minimum last 10 years of historical context analysis. Here we go with historical analysis. That must have been written by Casey Comrade Casey. No, the Jews in 1948 were completely unfairly and disgustingly prejudiced against and pogromed out of their countries because of what Jews did in Israel, which they had zero association with, and any attempt to fucking contextualize that as it's somehow their fucking fault because what of other Jews did is nothing but fucking racism apologists, scum.
So this is funny. He's like, it's somehow the people that were expelled from Arab countries' fault because of what other Jews did. So first of all, that is Ethan Klein flattening all of Judaism down to one group of people, which they're not. They have different Jews in different parts of the world have different cultures. They have different traditions, foods. Jewish people are not a monolith, okay? When Ethan says that if you are going to say that the actions of certain Jews exacerbated the amount of anti-Semitism that Arab Jews experienced living in like their respective Arab nations, that's anti-Semitic because you are victim blaming. So Ethan cannot understand that there's a difference between the Jews that were part of the expulsion of Arab nations, like Jews living in Iran. Ethan can't understand there's a difference between Jews living in Iran and European Jews that came to Israel that ethnically cleansed hundreds of Palestinian villages and created the Nakba. And he can't understand that there's a difference between those people. Okay, so he's saying that if you're blaming European Jews for like exacerbating the amount of anti-Semitism that Arab Jews were experiencing, you are victim blaming. So that's just a flattening of Jewish culture. And then he also is completely not understanding the idea of Zionism actually, like the effects that Zionism had on exacerbating the amount of anti-Semitism. So as we said before, Jews, or as I've said in previous streams, Jews living in Arab nations have lived there for thousands of years. Of course, they didn't want to leave their Arab homes. When Israel became established and there was the Nakba and then the 1948 war, that caused a lot of right-wing radicalization in these Arab governments. Similar to Donald Trump, similar to Hitler, and similar to every other leader that has ever scapegoated the Jews, Arab leaders scapegoated the Jews, and that did create a lot of anti-Semitism in the areas. The other aspect that we need to look at is not only because of the war and the rise in right-wing nationalism in these Arab states created this like anti-Semitism, but of course the idea that Israel was created as a explicitly Jewish nation state put a target on the back of Jewish minorities living in Arab states, even though in a lot of Arab states, Jews, like Jewish communities, were completely integrated into every level of society. And so when you have like a group of people that are completely integrated into every level of society, and then like an ethnic state, an ethno-state gets created, of course that's going to put a target on their back, especially when right-wing nationalistic leaders just lost a war and now they are looking for anything to blame in order to save their political career. Of course they're going to target the Jews. That's not justifying the anti-Semitism that Jewish people living in Arab states experienced. It is explaining the sociological causes of this anti-Semitism. We also need to take a look at the fact that there is a lot of evidence that Israel sent Zionist agents into these Arab states to exacerbate further the amount of anti-Semitism. So there are examples of Zionist agents creating bombs in Jewish communities to further the amount of anxiety and fear that Jewish people were experiencing and encourage Jewish communities to leave countries like Iran and Lebanon and emigrate to Israel. And then there is also deals that Israel was making with the far-right nations of Iran. It's the exact same thing where, like, funnily enough, when we talked about the that one Zionist propaganda video where they were saying that Pakistani refugees in India went to Pakistan and vice versa, Indian refugees went to India. That's something similar happened in Arab states where these two right-wing countries agreed to basically like be ethno-states. So once again, Ethan's just like completely ignoring any kind of effect that Zionism has on the expulsion of Jewish states. He's ignoring the idea that Israel was actually encouraging Arab Jews to be expelled from their homelands. And he is just basically blaming Arabs for everything, when Jewish Zionists that went to Israel and created the land knew that this was going to be in effect, and they planned for it.
Baggotry. So fuck you, and I'm right, and you're a scumbag. Also, I didn't ignore the context. I literally said in the wake of the fucking 1948 war, which is basically the only context to what happened to the Jews in the Arab and Muslim world. Ethan tries to frame a deranged Nico fan as a Hasan fan. I literally never said anything about him being anyone's fan. I just okay, whatever. I'll get into that because there's a funny.
Okay, I mean you did try to frame him as being a Hasan fan.
Clips of Denham's reacting to that part.
I thought I was gay. I watched gay porn.
And?
Oh, do you like it?
I was grabbing her. I was laughing.
Why were you laughing?
And I know that I'm not gay.
Generally, you laugh when you're having a good time.
Bro, I went to a gay nightclub.
Holy fucking
it's the
shit.
way he does content to make leftism more consumable for a wider audience. Ethan links this to hiding his power level, which is a term coined by 4chan Nazis. I mean, let's forget. Okay, I don't care about 4chan Nazis. Is what I said true? Can we talk about that? Because again,
are they trying to say that you saying he's hiding his power level?
Is that a DBZ thing?
Well, yeah, it is a DBZ thing. But like using it in this context. But even if we just accept that, is the argument that you using that's like a Nazi dog whistle?
Okay, so this is a valid criticism. Hasan says that he tries to make his leftist content more palatable to just people, basically apolitical people. And instead of actually addressing that, Dan kind of bails Ethan out by latching on to he said he's hiding his power level, which is a phrase coined by 4chan Nazis. And then Dan steps in and is like, Ethan, I'll handle this one. Are you guys seriously trying to say that this is a Nazi dog whistle? Are you trying to say that Ethan is utilizing a Nazi dog whistle? It's like, no, that's not the criticism. If they were trying to say that Ethan was using a Nazi dog whistle, they would have said Ethan is using a Nazi dog whistle instead of adding the context for like hiding the power level. They actually laid out criticism, which is you saying Hasan is like using propaganda when what he's actually doing is trying to make his content more palatable to people. And Ethan's basically being like, yeah, Hasan's trying to send people into a radicalization pipeline when Hasan is about, like, he's not Hasan's positions that he fronts aren't going to get more and more radical the more you understand what Hasan is doing. Hasan doesn't use Nazi-type dog whistles like what Nick Fuentes might be doing, where if you start watching Nick Fuentes at the beginning, you might be like, okay, well, he just thinks that, like, some races don't get along with people, and there are, like, ethnic communities where there's a lot of violence between the two. Maybe, like, he just thinks that people should have their own thing, and then you keep watching and you're like, okay, well, he's actually, like, a white supremacist. That's what a radical... that's what like radicalization would look like online. When Hasan says, I'm trying to make things more palatable to people, you don't get into further depths of communism from Hasan. What you see is what you get with him. When he says, yeah, I'm like for healthcare for people, that doesn't mean that he's for harvesting of organs of Uyghurs so that you have forced organ donation to other people, like the further you get into the pipeline of Hasan Piker's radical communist mania. And then these guys completely ignore that criticism and just say, wow, you guys say that Ethan's using a Nazi dog whistle? You guys are so delusional.
To say that somebody's hiding their power level because it originates from 4chan?
That seems to be what they're doing here. Which is an incredible level of nuance that is that they just...
That is such a stretch.
Well, so didn't Hasan say he's hiding his power level?
I don't know if he said those words verbatim, but he may have. I don't remember. But I mean, the intentionality and the purpose of it was, in my opinion, one of the most poignant parts of the videos was showing how he intentionally misrepresents his views, and as they said, sends people, gets them young, and sends them through a radicalization funnel to more radical. Why are you even denying it? I mean, what are we doing? This is what he said, man. Ethan shows Hasan talking about how we should move towards Sweden's more social democratic policies as proof of him being a social democrat and lying about his power level. I felt that again, you're just saying stuff. That was all foiled against concrete evidence to support my point.
Supposed to be a lie? Because now it's like I feel like the list is evolving as we go. Now this is just summarizing the video.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be lies.
It's so funny. It's like, wow, all of these lies seem to just be a summary of the video. Okay, well, maybe the video is full of lies then.
Okay.
He says 52 lies.
Why does it lie?
He says there were tons of quote jokes that I left out Like Hasan being paid by Iran. Yeah, obviously don't include that, you moron. Frogan got paid 10 million from Qatar. Yeah, obviously that's a joke, dumbass. But it's racist apparently. Also, most of Ethan's claims were either.
I mean, dude, come on, Ethan. If Hasan said that you're getting paid $10 million from Israel, do you think you would really not cry anti-Semitism at the top of your lungs? Wow, just because I'm Jewish, you think I'm getting paid? Just because I'm Jewish? Like, Ethan has cried anti-Semitism because people have been calling him a Zionist. And he's like, just because I'm Jewish, you guys are calling me a Zionist. And you really think that if Hasan said, yeah, Ethan's getting paid $10 million for Israeli propaganda as a joke, then Ethan wouldn't be like, oh, wow. Well, I mean, it's just a joke, guys. It's not racist. Come on. Dude, Ethan would be like shitting and pissing himself on Instagram, being like, Hasan's so anti-Semitic. He said I'm getting $10 million from Israel. He thinks all Jews like money. He thinks I'm motivated by money. Dude, holy shit. Ethan's so high on his own supply right now.
Unsourced or only including headlines from the same fringe bloggers. I think it's so funny when people say that. I show the headline. Do you know how fucking easy it is? I literally type in that headline and see where the article came from. Like, I can't make it. That's even an easier way to source it than putting a link in the description. Just type in the headlines article if you want to find out where I'm getting this information. It's so fucking easy. Ethan says, blah, blah, blah. Hasan talks about how right-wing talking points easily.
Ethan says blah, blah, blah. Wow, you're really addressing all of the lies here. So what is the blah, blah, blah? Ethan shows Hasan talking about how we should move towards Sweden's more social democratic policies as proof of him being a social democrat and lying about his power level. Right, exactly. You can be a communist and still think that Sweden's more social democratic policies are preferable to what America experiences right now, and that's still a goal we should take. Have you ever heard about, like, breaking your big goals into smaller, more achievable goals, Ethan?
Manipulate liberals. Ethan frames Hasan saying they're easily manipulating. I mean, he said, okay, whatever.
Holy shit, dude, he actually can't even read the sentence. I'm just going to run this back one more time.
Ethan says, blah, blah, blah. Hasan talks about how right-wing talking points easily manipulate liberals. Ethan frames Hasan saying they're easily manipulating. I mean, he said, okay, whatever.
Dude, he can't even read the fucking sentence. Hasan talks about how right-wing talking points easily manipulate liberals. Ethan frames this as Hasan easily manipulating Ethan, a liberal. And then Ethan frames this as Hasan easily manipulating.
Whatever, who gives a fuck? ExpressVPN
just says, who gives a fuck?
And it's dog shit. Ooh, there's a whole conspiracy. One of the top comments on a post on Hasan's subreddit, which we'll get to, is like, you know why ExpressVPN sponsored Ethan? Because the owner is a fucking Zionist.
So once again, this goes directly into what I was talking about, where Ethan makes claims that Qatar is giving $10 million to Frogan. And I guess he says it's a joke, right? And now he's saying that, oh, people are saying ExpressVPN is bad because ExpressVPN is Israeli, and they're saying it's bad because they're, like, anti-Semitic. So, just once again, man, he has no actual criticisms.
I was like, ooh, we're doing a little protocol to Zion. We're doing a little conspiracy here. We love our Jewish conspiracy theory.
Yeah, so exactly. People are saying that, oh, ExpressVPN is, like, Zionistic. It's Zionist. And then Ethan says, oh, that's a Jewish conspiracy theory you're doing. You're actually being anti-Semitic if you say ExpressVPN is bad.
Kaya is not a designer dog. They're getting upset for Kaya. Socialism, but least a Porsche.
Can I also say, and I listen, I got
okay.
Theories. Kaya is not a designer dog. They're getting upset for Kaya. Socialism, but least a Porsche.
Kaya is not a designer dog. He doesn't read the rest of it and says she is a mix of Tibetan Mastiff, Chow Chow, and St. Bernard. Once again, that's not a designer dog. Purebreds are much more like, I mean, designer dog isn't a real term, right? It's not a scientific term. But if you're talking about a designer dog colloquially, that usually means a purebred type of dog. So if you're saying that it's a mix of 3 different types, that doesn't even mean that her parents were purebred. That means that her parents were also a mix of different things. So, like, pretty colloquially, not a designer dog. Who even gives a fuck? Like, this is the stupidest talking. I couldn't fucking believe it when Ethan brought up Kaya as a mark against Hasan. That was crazy. Socialism, but least a Porsche. Do you have a rebuttal to that? Do you have a rebuttal of how Hasan buying a Porsche is against socialism?
Can I also say, and I listen, I got no dog in this fight, literally, but what they list out. Can you show that on screen again, Nate?
I can't zoom, unfortunately.
Kaya is not a designer dog. She's a mix of Tibetan Mastiff, Chow Chow, and Saint Bernard. That sounds like a designer dog.
That's super exotic.
Right. Well, like all three of those are very like rare pure breeds.
Well, this is also I don't.
Rarity, the exoticness of it. Chow Chow, that sounds so exotic. What the fuck are they talking about? Saint Bernards are exotic now?
Really know, but it needs to be a pure breed to be expensive.
But not.
Look at the dog.
You didn't say purebred. You said a designer dog.
Yeah. Look at the dog.
Yeah, designer dog doesn't. I mean, colloquially, a designer dog is usually like a very well-bred dog.
But at least a Porsche. That's not a lie. That's like literally your opinion. This whole thing where he's like, socialism is win no car and socialism win no house. Like clearly, nobody actually believes that. But there is something ironic about Hasan, like partaking in the greatest excesses of capitalistic society, while also like being a radical.
I just need to reframe this really quick and like step back from the situation. Hasan or Ethan saying that I don't even know if Hasan owns a Porsche, but let's say he does. That's what, like $100,000 at the most? I don't know what kind of Porsche Hasan drives. I don't really care. But Ethan saying that Hasan living in a house and driving a Porsche is indulging in the uppermost excesses of capitalism. So driving a car and owning a house is now the most excess of capitalism you can possibly have. Okay, dude. Just once again, I don't think Ethan even like understands what capitalism is, because if you were going to say that that's the uppermost excess of capitalism, then you don't have a good understanding of what capitalism is. It's not like he owns these corporations and he has sweatshops and he has all of these products that he's selling profiting off of the labor of underpaid people being outsourced from Thailand or whatever. It's just like he's so lost in the sauce right now. Owning a house and having a car, it's not even an insane car. It's a Porsche. It's a nice car. And he leased it. Okay, all right.
Revolutionary leftist. Like he does this and he goes, I'm a hedonist. That's why I do all these things. It's like, well, I mean, your hedonism is an expression of capitalistic excess. Like literally, you think if Stalin was alive today, he would look at you and think that what you're exhibiting is an acceptable form of socialism? Are you fucking kidding me? Of course not. Right? Am I wrong? I find like that's just so
I think there's nuance here. I mean, I remember the argument that Hasan always made, which is that, I advocate for a socialism where everybody can have nice things, not that one where nobody can have.
Yeah, but not everybody's going to have a $200,000 car and a $3 million.
Yeah, I think if I'm being honest, him openly identifying as a hedonist and being into like designer, high fashion, and everything. I mean, look at me, I'm a schlub. Like I don't care about those things.
It's a little.
Hey, you're not a schlub, Dan. You're not a fucking schlub. Don't talk about
yourself. I'm saying I am certainly not somebody.
I mean, if we're going to talk about someone ironically being a socialist, isn't it kind of ironic of Dan working for someone like Ethan Klein, who's like had a crusade against socialists for the past 7 months and is like an avowed capitalist? Okay, just want to skip all of that. They talk about his watch.
That all the bad shit the Houthis were doing towards women, LGBT people was good. Mine rather speaks about how being genocide. These are so dumb.
Okay, so this is funny, right? All of these are things that don't actually deal with the main thesis of Ethan's video. All of these are irrelevant. They're immaterial. But when we get to the action, and he's like, the main thesis of the video is Hasan loves terrorism. And so now we get to the actual part where they target the main thesis of the video, right? What does it say? Hasan has never said that all of the bad shit that the Houthis were doing towards women and LGBT people was good. Rather, he speaks about how being genocided makes it infinitely harder to fight for social progress. Okay, and Ethan just gives up on reading the sentence halfway through and is like, this is so dumb.
Genocide makes it infinitely harder for people to fight for social progress. Okay. Hasan playing a Houthi
just says okay. And that's, once again, like Ethan is criticizing Hasan for shit that he does, right? He's like, oh, is Hasan actually going to address any of these points, or is he just going to read it and say okay? It's like, that's quite literally what you are doing.
The music video is not him endorsing terrorism. Well, it is.
Once again, he doesn't actually read the last 3 words of the sentence because it changes the meaning of the sentence. It says, Hasan playing a Houthi music video is not him endorsing terrorism against civilian populations. Ethan only reads, Hasan playing a Houthi music video is not him endorsing terrorism. And then he says, well, it is. But if you actually read the entire sentence, that changes the meaning. Reading the sentence changes the meaning of the sentence, Ethan. And you can't actually address the full sentence, so you just cut it off halfway through.
The way he did it is, for sure. That's not a lie, by the way. Once again, you're so fucking dumb. He actually pulled this up. This post, wow. Hasan explaining how, okay, I don't care. You can read it. It's dumb. Expressing how shutting down the Red Sea is not him endorsing terrorism, a civilian population. He literally watched a video of terrorists commandeering a civilian fucking ship. Like, what do you want? Anyway, the fact.
Yeah, and then he just like reads that and he's like, okay, well, he watched a video of the Houthis taking over a ship. It's like, okay, well, once again, it's like against civilian populations. And you can argue that that's like, when we're talking about terrorism, that you can argue that's more of like an infrastructure thing. Anyway, so we're done with this. Let's just, guys, have you seen this show? Is this show good? Yeah, he does read like Tim Pool. That's a good comparison.
Friends, we are here.
Oh no, and he's got the Tim Pool beanie. Oh shit, I have the beanie too. Is this a good video to watch at all? Regarding the poker stream, I don't really care. Lena is in the creator clash. Our new tech, important Steiny updates. Fallen fan turned family. Oh god. Olivia made this man brat pilled, or is it brat pilled? Updating the background. Teddy Fresh rap song. Dan's new favorite video. Is Michael Jackson anti-Semitic? I think Ethan, like, okay, I'm not even joking about this. I think Ethan should do a segment where he says, is Hitler anti-Semitic? And he should actually go over the anti-Semitic things that Hitler did. Because it seems like he's really like going on this anti-Semitism kick. And I honestly think it would be a good exercise in critical analysis to look over the things that Hitler did and explain to his audience why they're anti-Semitic and what exactly about Hitler's rhetoric and policies are so anti-Semitic. Obviously, we know the camps, but I honestly think it would be a good exercise in historical analysis to go back and read how those camps got to be, read about the position that Hitler was in, and then what aspects allowed the country of Germany to get to the point where they were having like concentration camps and they were doing Holocaust not only against Jews and other undesirable people, but also against countries that treated Jews well. And they thought that like the Soviets were subhuman as well. And they thought that British people, since they weren't anti-Semitic as much as the Germans and as much as the French, they treated British prisoners way worse than they treated French prisoners because they thought that the French were anti-Semitic. Like, I think that would be interesting. Instead of this, like, is Michael Jackson anti-Semitic? Okay, let's watch this. I'm kind of curious to see Ethan's reaction to Donald Trump's plan.
What's coming next? Now, before we get into the the Hasan stuff too, I think it's important mentioning Trump has had some brilliant ideas on Gaza. Once again, reminding people that I voted and advocated for Kamala Harris, and Hasan did not. Here is Trump.
Yeah, Ethan advocated for Kamala Harris so hard. I talked to a fan that is like anti-Hasan, and he was a Trump supporter. Which, I mean, that was just so funny. I was not expecting to talk to a guy that's a fan of the H3 show that I met off of Reddit to be a Trump supporter. But yeah, great job advocating for Kamala Harris, Ethan.
Making this announcement.
Ethan?
Yes?
Ethan?
Yes?
Please stand up.
Okay, you're the president. I'm not going
to
down. I love it too much.
I am sitting the fuck down.
Oh yeah, that was so fucking stupid.
Hey,
Yahoo's kind of sick.
Like Yahoo like seems too goofy. Oh. You know, I've heard that one, and it just feels insufficient for what a piece of shit.
Yeah,
is.
Yahoo's kind of sick.
Like Yahoo like seems too goofy.
Oh. Netan, he's a Yahoo.
Remember when Kanye went on Alex Jones and brought a net and a Yahoo container?
So stupid. Oh yeah,
crazy.
That was so fucking stupid.
Hey, here,
Holy
come get me. Responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
I mean, he's being very like specific with his vision.
I know. It's just like, because I've seen dismissals that, it might have just been like an off-the-cuff thing.
Right.
No, this dude came out here.
He's serious about
the intention of saying the craziest fucking shit you ever heard in your life.
And also he's doing it next to Netanyahu, so the implication is that like this is some serious
deal.
They're on board.
Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. The U.S. will take over.
So, I have to say, even in like the wildest.
Maria F., you need to make like a high effort post to debunk this horrible misinformation that Ethan is putting out there. Kaya's parents are both mixes? What is this? A mix of a mix?
Dreams of the most like anti-Trump like advocate who's like the worst case scenario of everything. Like nobody dreamed that this was actually an option.
He literally managed to raise the bar here.
It's really
insanity.
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So, but like
I don't know. I don't think this is like shocking. You can hear my conversation with someone who is a representative of the Abandon Harris campaign, which was a campaign to show that there was like a voting bloc that was resistant against the Democrats' genocide. And I had a conversation with him, and I think it was after Trump got elected. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a Palestine at the end of Trump's 4 years in office. And the guy's like, oh, well, I hope there is. I'm like, yeah, I don't have high hopes for it. So I'm honestly not shocked at all about this. Yeah, when Ethan says like, oh, I'm so shocked that this is happening, I really don't think he understands once again, this is an example of Ethan not understanding just the amount of hatred out there is for Palestinians. And so when he says that actually there's like way more advocacy for Palestinians than there are for Jewish people, that is an example of his own bias, and that's an example of him swimming in a very small pool of liberal and leftist content creators. And so when he sees his friends and the people he associates with being more pro-Palestinian than they are pro-Israeli, he will internalize that and think to himself, well, that must mean that everyone in the world is way more Palestinian than pro-Israeli. And that just is not the case, especially when we look at the people with power. And this is just another example of Ethan being a bad political analyst. Like it's just as simple as that. He is way too biased to be a good political analyst.
Question is this actually possible? Like, can they actually do this? Like, I don't know. I guess they would have to convince Jordan and Egypt to absorb 2 million people.
Right, which of course they immediately said, no, we're not doing that. And
I guess it's possible if they offer them like massive foreign aid incentives.
It's not. I mean, there's one way it's possible. There's only one way that it's possible.
What, killing everybody?
Yes.
Well, I don't think that's actually going to happen.
But that's my point. Is like this is.
So once again, Ethan says, I don't think they're actually going to kill everyone. So Ethan, in his Content Nuke video that came out last week, used a number that's like a year old, where 40,000 Palestinians were dead, according to him. If you look it up, the actual factual numbers and names, like the people that we have names for and are confirmed dead, is about 46,000 people, almost 47,000 people dead. Ethan completely ignores that. So he just writes off almost 7,000 Palestinians that we have the death records for, essentially. Doesn't care about that, even though when 1,200 Israelis die, that's enough for him to basically have this entire crusade against these people that are advocating for peace in this region. But like 7,000 Palestinians, who cares? And then also like the estimates are like in the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians being dead. And Ethan can't seem to believe that, oh, well, I don't think they would kill all of them. This is just once again him being in way over his head. He does not know anything that he's talking about, because I simply don't think he cares enough to actually do the research on this. If he cared enough to do the research, if he cared enough about Palestinians, he would do the research and change his number from 40,000 dead to 47,000, or like 46,938 dead. But he can't do that because he just cannot be bothered to even have the correct amount of Palestinians that have been killed in this genocide.
So ludicrously over the top absurd on its
But I wonder if it's like something that like how seriously to take it. That's what I've been wondering. Is like,
yeah, I mean, I've seen
like
that too. I've seen people say it's like maybe this is a negotiating tactic or whatever. But I mean, frankly, just even suggesting it is like dangerous. Like just throwing it out there nonchalantly like that.
I just love. He is the. We have never had a talk about pro-Israel. You know what I mean? You want to look at, say, Kamala Harris pro-Israel, then he is like, what do you even call this guy? He is like the fucking Messiah. I think he's the Messiah, the Israel Messiah. Does that mean the end of the world is coming? The Messiah is back, baby. And you know he's going to call it like the Trump strip.
Mara Gaza. I've been
Mara Gaza?
Mara Gaza. I mean, the fact that it's not out of the question is crazy enough on its own. Like, yes, he might call it the Trump strip. Like, I could see him doing that.
Well, he says he wants to make it the 50. Why is he so obsessed with adding states? Like, nobody asked for that. He wants a 51st straight Gaza. He wants 52 Canada, 53 Greenland. It's like, bro, what are we doing? Nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for that.
Not even MAGA. I mean, he ran as like an isolationist, supposedly. Like, that's what I've been getting told by people for the last 8 years.
He just straight up conjured this out of his like psychosis. Like, I don't know where it came from. Yeah, pretty wild shit. I have doubts if it's possible. I don't see how it's possible.
I'm just not.
So I'm not really sure what exactly he has, what actually is going to happen. But
no, I don't think
either way, it's not.
But that's what I mean. Just by like the fact that this unpredictability, like this matters when the president of the United States is talking like this.
Listen, the one thing that we know for sure is it's not going to be good for the Gazans.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the thing we know for sure. And I'll tell you who wouldn't be clearing out Gaza to build casinos: Kamala Harris.
I think it's.
I can with 100% certainty say that the two candidates are not the same.
I think that is fair. That is a fair assessment at this point.
I like this top comment. Is this good or bad?
I mean,
I think it must be.
They have an inquisitive mind. I mean, I appreciate that they,
That has to be a meme. That's
I think they're
fucking
kidding.
insane.
I think they're kidding. Jeez. But there it is. I did my part to stop this. I wish I could say the same for other folks. It's a shame. President Trump, Gaza should be.
Yeah, this is just so gross, man. Ethan being so cocksure about himself. Well, it's a shame. I did my part to stop it. I just wish that I could say the same about, other folks. It's like, all right, on to the next subject. I guess he hasn't really gone on to the next subject, but it's just so gross, dude. He's like literally blaming Hasan for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians now. This motherfucker is blaming Hasan and people that have advocated to not vote for Kamala Harris and made their anti-genocide stance known to the Democratic Party. And I disagree with those tactics because I think in the context of an ongoing genocide, you need to be very careful about who you vote into power. And I don't think that Palestine can survive 4 years of Donald Trump. But Ethan coming on here and dude, it's one thing to be like, oh, it's like, come on, guys. Maybe in the future we can use this as a learning experience and still vote for the lesser of two evils, because you can make a pretty convincing argument that Kamala Harris would not have been this brazen and this abrupt and brutal at the genocide of Palestinians, right? You can make that an argument. And let's just pull this up here. So you can make an argument that is okay, maybe we can take this as a lesson to not vote for lesser of two evil voting. But Ethan is taking it not only as an opportunity to gloat about who he voted for and patting himself on the back for voting for someone that initiated and enabled this genocide in the first place, but he's also attacking pro-Palestinian content creators and advocacy voices like Hasan and Frogan and Denims, and saying that you guys should feel bad and you should have done more to stop this genocide. He is quite literally blaming the genocide on people like Hasan and Frogan because they didn't advocate hard enough for Kamala Harris to get elected. Bro, Hasan was literally at the fucking DNC. Where is the majority report? Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, what I actually wanted to look up. I saw this clip recently. At what point will Hasan take legal action? He's calling him a date rapist now. Okay, I wanted to look up this majority report clip that I saw in here. I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to look it up. So zoomed in. Majority. Let's just see if we find anything. Let's just look up Sam Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to play.
Stephen Alaska says, so is Trump worse? I mean, you know, look, technically right now,
I don't know if you can say that.
I don't know if you can say that. I mean, I know that the amount of Palestinians in Gaza are dying today is less than it was during the Biden administration.
Some USA is getting through to him finally.
Do I think that ultimately Trump is going to be worse than Harris? You know, Harris was also a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And I will say,
all we were
I have
going
pretty
against
negative
was
prognosis of what I think she would have done.
But Obama stood up to Netanyahu with the Iran deal. Like, it's possible that Democrats would do it. It's not possible
But the circumstances
that
have to align again. Like, I agree, but I just want to say, like, I think even I was saying it was worth voting for Harris over Trump, even if you said a null difference, because I think that's frankly the safest thing to credibly promise. Because I wouldn't predict any backbone from Harris on this. I don't even know if that she would have secured the ceasefire, but
who knows? But Scott from Detroit, it shouldn't be.
So we have an argument here, and it's like, when you're going to say if Kamala Harris is better, specifically on the issue of Israel and Palestine, you simply do not have the information required to make that assessment. What I would argue is that when you're looking at the totality of Trump's policies, especially when you're looking at basically like the authoritarianness that Trump has, the desire to look like a strong man, and also the massive crackdown on freedom of speech, not only for everyday people, but like media companies, it's undoubtedly that it's going to be much harder to actually have your voice heard and influence Donald Trump in any way whatsoever. That being said, once again, I don't know if Donald Trump's going to be like absolutely worse than Kamala Harris on these things. I think he is. Like, I'll say that. I think he is for sure. He's definitely bought by Israel. He's like basically kissing Netanyahu's ass every chance he can get. So yeah, but we also have to say, like, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden didn't do anything to Netanyahu anyway. So maybe it would have been much slower. Maybe it would have been a much slower genocide under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But there was no evidence that things were going to get better underneath Kamala Harris. And I think there was a lot of evidence that things were going to get worse under Donald Trump. So once again, it's like lesser of two evils.
Strip should be the Riviera of the Middle East. He said that.
Just to follow up on what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries. One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision the world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable, and I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world, will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live
Some
there.
Palestinians will make it back, I'm sure. We'll try our best to keep them out, but some will make it back in. Only the rich ones. You have to be wealthy. Fantastic.
But they've tried the other, and
I want to say this right now. If you are a leftist who said, I'm abstaining from voting for Kamala. If you are a leftist who said Kamala and Trump are the same on this issue. If you are a leftist who voted for Jill Stein, I say this, and I know you guys are shitting and pissing the bed and doing everything you can to pretend like this take is like the worst, dumbest, most outlandish, and also probably racist thing you could say. This is all in your fucking lap, and you don't get to say shit. All these people are gonna be like, Trump, I can't believe. No, bitch, you just sit down and fucking take it. Because this is all on you, and I don't give a shit what you say. Whatever fucking mental gymnastics you try to, try to jump through, whatever hoops you try to jump through. This is your mess, man. This is all you, baby. This is all you. It's all you.
Once again, Ethan Klein just exhibiting extremely disgusting behavior here, saying that the genocide that Trump is going to do in Gaza is the fault of leftists advocating against genocide. And he says that leftists pushing against that are doing mental gymnastics. Right, Ethan. So it just so happens that the target of your personal feud with Hasan are the villains in the genocide that's happening in Gaza. Okay, and we're the ones doing mental gymnastics. Once again, I never said you shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. I actually said you should vote for Kamala Harris. However, we have to think about what are politics. Politics are candidates trying to get elected. If a candidate wants to get elected, they should try to change their positions to have votes filed for them. They should try to appease different groups that are making their voices and their concerns heard to try to get those groups' votes. So when a leftist content creator who is saying, I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris unless she changes her stance on Gaza, is saying that from the point that she became the candidate all the way up until the election, and Kamala Harris never changes her stance, who the fuck are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the leftist who has been very crystal clear in their stance, or are you going to blame the politician who has refused to change her stance even a little bit, even rhetorically, given that leftist any kind of ground or any kind of concession? Who are you going to blame here, Ethan? The politician that lost the election, or the voter who was crystal clear in what they wanted the politician to do, never got that, and then the politician faced the consequences of that? Okay, man. Okay. I'll also just take a look at how he says leftists are going to do that. Oh, people are going to say it's racist for me to say that. Okay, well, what did you have in your mind when you said leftist then that could possibly be construed as racist? Were you thinking about Muslim leftists like Hasan and Frogan? Or were you just saying leftists in general, Ethan? Just once again, I mean, you can talk until you're blue in the face about people voting against their best interests. It's not a valuable strategy when you're talking about how to win or lose elections. You shouldn't talk about the voters are to blame. The voters are never to blame, dude. It's always a failure in position and rhetoric from the politician.
Okay,
and this
can I add a caveat here?
And I will say this. This is what this kind of activism that Hasan and people like him, this is the outcome of their activism. It is, people need to start thinking about what is this level of activism we see of extraordinarily extremist, zero nuance, straight up hateful, uncompromising, what is the outcome of this level of...
This is funny. Zero nuance, hateful, uncompromising. It seems like Ethan's describing himself here. Bro, how is advocating for an end to genocide hateful? Ethan is just so lost, man. He's just completely tangled himself up into a knot to the point where he's now saying advocacy against genocide is hateful? Is Holocaust remembrance hateful now, Ethan? Because you're painting the Germans as some kind of negative force right around the 1940s? What the fuck are we talking about?
Activism. What have they done for Gaza? Literally, what have they done for Gaza? What have they done for Gaza? Serious, I'm being dead serious. They've fucking done nothing except bitch and shit and divide people. That's all they've done. They are ineffective, completely worthless as advocacy goes.
Oh my god, dude. This is so fucking dark. Okay. So I do think Ethan's off base here. Donald Trump got a ceasefire, he got the hostages returned because that was a popular position. He didn't want people talking about that. I don't think that's really an end result of activism. But what is an end result of activism is getting an ICC arrest warrant out for Netanyahu, having senators passing bills trying to stop U.S. aid into Israel, having countries banning Israel from participating in their sporting events, or banning Israel and banning Israeli envoys from coming in for cultural things, that whole Eurovision happening where the Israel representative wasn't involved there, educating people on the history of Israel and Palestine, arresting war criminals like Israeli soldiers when they travel out into different countries, boycotting, divestment, and sanctioning Israeli companies, making it difficult for other companies to support Israel because of the genocide, basically making it a difficult position to live in Israel while they are genociding a group of people. Israel's experienced the biggest exodus of Israelis from their country since the inception of their country because of the immense amount of rocket fire coming in at them from Hezbollah, from Hamas, and also basically the economic pressure that they're experiencing, having a global information campaign to highlight the amount of injustice that Palestinians experience under the hands of Israelis, or like underneath the boot of the IDF, changing global opinion on Israel to now it's like condemned almost globally. And Ethan Klein says that, well, I didn't do any of these things, but I voted for Kamala Harris, so thus I have done more in filling out a little bubble on a voting ballot sheet than Hasan has is in his entire political career advocating for Palestinians. Yeah, Ethan's done more than Hasan. Hasan has been completely ineffective because Donald Trump is now saying that we're going to genocide Palestinians. And Hasan is completely ineffective because of that. So honestly, Ethan can go fuck himself. Like, this is just so fucking gross. Oh, I don't even really want to watch any more of this. Oh yeah, they have a whole section about Hasan refusing to endorse Kamala. Oh god, dude, this is just so bad. Responding to Hasan's debate me video. I don't even really care about that. Debunking insane TikTok video. Denham's reaction to the content nuke. Okay, we can watch that. Correction, read Denham's. Frogan's reaction to the content nuke. Mike from PA's Cope. Come on, I'm looking for Uninformed Leftist reaction to the content nuke. Go Kanaru. Say my name guy. Oh. What, they even reacted to the Do Not Worry podcast, but they're not reacting to me? Is it because my video was 5 hours long, Ethan? Is it because my video is 5 hours long? Okay, let's watch this.
Here he is. Previously, we talked about Hasan was like, oh, you're a bitch. You're not on Twitter. You ran away. Well, here's Twitter. Okay, here's Hasan on Twitter, the app that he spends all day on. This country is so fucking cooked, man. A retweet from this account, Noctis Draven. Let's take a look at this account that he... wait. Oh, it's the next link. Let's take a look here. At
What a
the,
good guy.
At the account he retweeted here on X. Give it a signal boost there, bud. Here's a video of all the Jews at the New York Times. Oh shit. Wait, what happened? All the Jews at universities. Look at all the Jews in Biden's appointments.
Bro, aren't these like, once again, not to be pedantic here, but Ethan has played fast and loose with like his tethers to reality. So we do need to mention like he's putting Israeli flags there. I guess you can say that means Jewish, but and then also they say like the Jew obsession. But I guess is he labeling them Jews? Whatever. It doesn't even matter. I don't know what he's proving here. Hasan retweeted this guy that made like a weird video pointing at if it's actually like pointing out all the Jews, that is bad. I mean, I agree with Ethan there. But if he's trying to show that like Hasan's anti-Semitic because he retweeted a guy's tweet and then a year ago he posted something about how many Jews Biden has, yeah, that's great evidence that Hasan is anti-Semitic.
Hey, you know what? You're saving everything, bro.
Once again, he says Hasan is anti-Semitic, but he doesn't actually have any evidence of it. It's like his evidence is that Hasan played a Houthi propaganda music video and Hasan called like the Jews that are actually attacking aid trucks inbred, even though Ethan's called Jewish people being inbred. He's called Jewish people inbred for like years now, so okay, whatever.
This one is unbelievable. This guy Xander on TikTok. Oh man, I'm always surprised by the level to which these people will stoop. Well, and then it's not just that; it's the internet's reception to it.
One more time.
Now, before you watch this, let me tell you: 150,000 likes on this. Okay, and it has let's see here, 1.3 million views. Okay, now you guys watch the show, so you know. Let's see.
One more time. That's who some of you are defending. That is the person who decided to go on this whole anti-radical Islamic terrorism thing against basically Hasan. But yeah, that's what he's doing, right? That's what he's doing. One more time, just so you can see. Ethan has already been down the alt-right pipeline. He is becoming a master of it. Dare I say he's becoming the CEO of the company.
I am the CEO of the alt-right.
By the way, I'm not ignoring any of the arguments that he presented. There's just no argument. We already know Hasan's a socialist. Hello.
What does that have to... Dude, how fucking dare... These people, let me tell you. They are so comfortable telling Jewish people what's the correct way to act and respond to anti-Semitism. They're so fucking comfortable telling me what is the right way, a Jewish Israeli man, how I can interact with anti-Semitism.
Okay, and I haven't seen this, but that is a humorous response from Ethan. So this guy like plays a 0.5 second clip of Ethan sig hailing. That's a dumb thing to do, right? When you're referring to Elon Musk sig hailing, and the way that you react to Elon Musk sig hailing is like, oh, well, he did this, and then like he did that. Is like, is that sig hailing? That's kind of a dumb thing to do, no matter who you are on the internet, because of course it's going to be clipped out of context. But instead of just saying it was clipped out of context, Ethan says, who are you to tell me, a Jewish man, how I should react to anti-Semitism? He's like, if I... Like, what is this response, bro? Just say it was clipped out of context and move on. But instead, Ethan says, no, I'm Jewish, so if I want to sig hail, I get to sig hail. Like, that is a very strange way to come at this, dude. Like, I watched the context of that. He was clearly being like, he was clearly just imitating Elon Musk and being like, oh yeah, this is quite obviously a sig hail. Here, let me show you. And then he does it. And the crew's like, don't do that, Ethan. That's stupid. It's like, okay. But now this guy's calling him out on it. He's like, no, I am Jewish. I can do what I want when it comes to anti-Semitism.
Rationalize it, explain it, and joke about it. Imagine I told this dude, hey bro, you need to stop saying the N-word because me as a white Jewish guy, it makes me uncomfortable. That's literally what he's telling me. And instead of people being like, you're fucking insane, he gets millions of views, 150,000 likes, and comments like, Ethan Klein's a grifter. I still feel sorry for all the foolish people who worship a mediocre mouthpiece. Wow, he crashed out for real. Why did he do that? Ethan Klein still exists, unreal. Bro, he's been on the enemy side. Like, bro, I'm a Jewish Israeli guy. And also the context of it was that I was analyzing.
Also, when we talk about Ethan in the alt-right pipeline, I don't think he's like conservative. I don't think he's alt-right. He's definitely a liberal. However, we do need to talk about how liberalism kind of paves the way for fascism. We've seen this over and over again. Liberals will basically look at the extremism of left extremism, in quotes, of like leftists and socialist people and take stances against them. I mean, we've seen how in every single election, we get more and more conservative to the point now where Donald Trump wants to completely dismantle the United States government. When after every election that the Democrats lose, they think that we need to go more conservative, that is liberals paving the road for fascism. And it's basically like them attacking progressive people, right? Oh, we went too progressive. We need to be more reactionary now. We're in a reactionary swing of this country.
I was in the middle of calling out Elon Musk for doing a Nazi stuff.
Raising alarm bells about exactly the thing that he's trying to connect you to, which he's well aware of, and that's why the clip is about a half a second long.
No, and then like specifically for Ethan, he's spent the majority of his content criticizing progressive people. Of course, that's going to attract Republicans to his show. So if he's going to be like, oh, I'm not a conservative, what are you talking about? Well, maybe you should take a look at the effective output of your channel. And the effective output of your channel has been shitting on progressive people for the last like 6 months. So yeah, your effective output is conservative. Okay, I'm sorry. Like that is the type of content you're putting out is conservative content, and you are going to attract conservative viewers.
There is no way that you can watch that segment and come out of it thinking that you are somehow endorsing or purposely doing a Nazi salute because that's something that you believe in. It's blatantly and obviously fucking disingenuous. This shit blew my fucking mind. Like, this is fucking insane. And like dangerous. Like, he is going out of his way to slander you as a neo-Nazi. Like that can get you hurt. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're gonna critique Ethan, at least try to come from an honest place.
Yeah,
like,
no, this is just like so
nothing.
Blatantly disingenuous.
It goes exactly
disgusting.
Against what he's been talking about for like months. So that's crazy.
I mean, it's a lot of
psychotic behavior. Like, what the fuck?
But it's not even the fact that someone made this video. I'm not surprised that someone made such a dumb fucking video, right? It's the reaction to it. 150,000 likes, millions of views, and everyone's like, yeah, Ethan's a Nazi. Oh yeah, Ethan's just doing more Nazi salutes. That's the information that, you know.
I mean, bro, Ethan, you are literally in favor of an ethno-state to keep all Jewish people separate from non-Jewish people. I would say that's kind of like something that Nazis endorse, dude. So yeah, you're not too far apart from the Nazi ideology, like the Nazi view of Jewish people. Hitler wanted Jewish people to leave Germany, right? He didn't want to kill them at first. He just wanted to deport them all. Yeah. Denham's reaction to the continent nuke. Okay, let's watch this.
We saw that one. Denham's. Get a load of this dumbass. Here's a Hasan orbiter Denham's. You guys might not know who she is because she's
like
mostly irrelevant, except she was the main freebooter of when I posted the content nuke. She had like 45,000 live viewers.
For the watch party.
For the watch party that she threw.
The watch party.
She posted, there was posts on Snark and on Hasan's subreddit saying, go watch her instead of giving Ethan views. She even said it at the end of her video, which is not great if you're trying to avoid committing copyright infringement. It's not great.
Bad move.
It's not a great look to do that. And it'd be a shame if somebody was, well, this is not great.
It's not a good move.
No.
Just a little advice, Denham's, for the future.
What the fuck are they talking about?
For the watch party that she threw.
The watch party.
She posted, there was posts on Snark and on Hasan's subreddit saying, go watch her instead of giving Ethan views. She even said it at the end of her video, which is not great if you're trying to avoid committing copyright infringement. It's not great.
Bad move.
It's not a great look to do that. And it'd be a shame if somebody was, well, this is not great.
It's not a good move.
Bro, you have nothing to say. It's not great, says it 5 more times, thinks he's made a point. Dude, saying go watch this other person reacting to their content so that you don't give them views isn't saying that they're stealing your copyright, okay? You need to make the argument that they weren't reacting hard enough to it, right? It doesn't matter how many views they get. Copyright infringement is copyright infringement. You should know this, Ethan. You've like stood up for reacting to videos in your own stupid little fucking podcast that you do. And now you're saying that, oh yeah, reacting to content is not great because they said, watch me react to it instead of giving Ethan views. Like, to me, and I know this might be reaching a little bit, but to me, this feels
advice, Denham's, for
this feels like Ethan being a little bit butthurt that his content nuke didn't get as many views as he thought it would. Let's see how many views it's sitting at. Last time I checked, it was at about 2 million. 2.5 million. I think Ethan said something like, yeah, this nuke is probably going to get like 5 million views. So, 2.4 million. Well, whatever. Top comment is now, why is nobody in the comments talking about the actual content of the video? I feel like I'm going insane. Well, I think they deleted a lot of comments, but
future.
And then
2.5 million in 5 days. That's pretty good, right? I think that's about half of what Ethan thought he'd be getting.
Hasan content nuke from Ethan Klein. Everybody get in here. 45,000 views. She usually gets like, I think, less than 1,000. What does she usually get? You can look it up on that stream.
Oh my God, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Why are you acting like that? Oh wait, what did Ethan say about her? What was the context of the button?
What does she usually get? You can look it up on that stream. What's funny is that.
Oh, so he's talking about Denham, says, what's funny is that, and then it cuts out because he said some fucked up shit.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and then once again, she is an ex-Destiny orbiter. In fact, it's rumored, I'm pretty sure that they had a sexual relationship, too. So, I never fucked Destiny. Say what you will about me, but I never fucked Destiny.
You're saying that wasn't your dick in the leak?
Not my dick, buddy. Not this dick. Yeah, Denham's ex-Destiny orbiter. Very good. Very good.
Oh, from Believe All Women to Pixar didn't happen.
Okay, if you have a clip of Denham's that you're going to dunk on, it's just weird to me that he talks about so much how he's like, oh, she never gets views, but she got a lot of views here. Isn't that a little bit suspect? Maybe she's doing some copyright infringement. And then he's talking about her being like a sexual partner to Destiny. All right, Ethan. Okay.
The vast majority of people, if not all, who were raped were murdered on the spot.
Here's the thing, though. We are believing the women who come forward and talk about their sexual abuse or experiences. I'm not going to believe fucking Biden when he tells me that everybody's getting raped. That's insane. You realize that that's insane, right?
Yeah. Obviously.
Gam Goldstein Almog was kidnapped from
her home on October 7th by Hamas terrorists and was held captive for 51 days. Though only 17 years old, she witnessed the murder of her father and sister on that day and is now speaking out about what she witnessed in Gaza as well in a new documentary by Sheryl Sandberg, Screams Before Silence. In new footage, Agam reveals that sexual assault and rape was a regular component of the life as a hostage in Gaza.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
Hasan, maybe you would like to call her a liar. Please, go right ahead.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
There are dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it
What's the
happen.
problem, fucking bitch?
Oh, I paused it at a bad time. So Ethan thinks this is a dunk because why does he think it's a dunk? I mean, Hasan has literally never said that sexual violence didn't happen at all, right? At first, the claims were that every Hamas soldier was coming in with like the mission to sexually assault people in Israel. And then that's been disproven. And of course, there was sexual violence that happened, and especially with the hostages, there's sexual violence that happened. Hasan never said that. He never said otherwise. And I think Ethan's really getting him on the worst possible soundbite in terms of like worse for Ethan, because Hasan is literally saying that sexual violence does not justify genocide. And I don't think that Ethan disagrees with it, but by using this clip, it makes it seem like he does disagree with it. And I think that's a big issue, right? I think that is some really bad content to be putting out to almost 2.5 million people when you're saying that since Hamas did sexual violence against their female captives, or at least one female captive, and probably more, saying that isn't an excuse to genocide them is dumb. You are effectively saying, you know, they should kind of get genocided, right? It's just not a good hill to die on if you are Ethan Klein. If you're trying to attack Hasan, I think there are other more damning clips where Hasan laughs when Kamala Harris says all of the sexual violence that happened on October 7th. Then Hasan's like, oh my God, like he rolls his eyes, right? I think that could have been a better clip to get than literally saying that sexual violence doesn't justify genocide, and Ethan's pointing that out like it's some kind of W.
Out about what she witnessed in Gaza as well in a new documentary by Sheryl Sandberg, Screams Before Silence. In new footage, Agam reveals that sexual assault and rape was a regular component of the life as a hostage in Gaza.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
Hasan, maybe you would like to call her a liar. Please, go right ahead.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
There are dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it
What's the
happen.
problem, fucking bitch? Did you not hear what they said? You respect women? Why are you calling them liars? How fucking cool is that? Say something. You just said you believe victims, but here's a victim right now, a woman, telling you this happened, and you're smiling? What's funny about that?
And each week there's more
Nothing to
stories
say?
coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it happened.
Doesn't matter.
But Hasan needs a rape kit from a mutilated.
Wait, wasn't this disproven? Was this clip from her disproven? Is he going to play the clip of her?
This clip of her first. How do you disprove firsthand testimony? Like, this should be in a museum. Okay, first of all, she's a fucking bitch. Shame on you. Fuck you.
Okay, all right. And Hasan's a misogynistic one for saying Ethan cried like a little bitch, but he calls that woman that worked for Twitch a bitch, and now he's calling Denims just a bitch like over and over again. Anyway, this isn't like the right tact to take. Like, obviously, if you know this specific example and the person like recanted their testimony, then maybe you can say, oh yeah, I read an article about this specific person and they said that it was disproven. But I think it's safe to assume that hostages under the control of Hamas did experience sexual violence while in the care of Hamas. Like, that's not an inconceivable thing to say. However, like, you should just repeat what Hasan was saying here and say that even though this woman experienced sexual violence, that doesn't justify the genocide. And Ethan Klein, due to the way he edited this video and is presenting this section, is making it seem like he disagrees with that fact. And thus, you can then say, Ethan Klein's editing in this section of the video makes it seem like he thinks sexual violence justifies the elimination of Palestinians altogether. Okay, so I don't think Denims really like came at this with the right rhetorical strategy, and does seem like she's like putting out disinformation in this. If she's going to say that this one woman's testimony was disproven or recanted, you should have evidence to back that up. You shouldn't just say, oh, well, wasn't this disproven? Because if you're trying to say that wasn't this disproven, then your position effectively becomes no sexual violence happened on October 7th. And and it seems like you're arguing that position because you think that that would change the dynamic for you. Like if Denims is so insistent on saying that all reports of sexual violence are lies, then that seems like she is almost admitting that if there was sexual violence, that would justify the genocide. So you should be able to accept claims of sexual violence and still say, this doesn't change the dynamic for me. It is horrible what these hostages are going through when they're under the control of Hamas. It's also horrible what the hostages of the Palestinian hostages are going through underneath the control of Israel. And by the way, there's way more of them and arguably under more brutal conditions than the ones in Israel or the ones controlled by Hamas. But that doesn't change the dynamic. I still think that Israel should withdraw their troops from occupying Gaza and create a ceasefire and then work towards a long-lasting peace. And simply because these members of Hamas are Palestinian and they're Arab, that doesn't mean that they're less worthy of being treated as a person as an Israeli does. And we all know Israel doesn't treat Palestinians as real people. So I do have some mods. Actually, guys, send me an email if you want to be a mod in my chat. Because I had some mods, but yeah, you're right. Now that the channel's growing and I'm going to be streaming more, I should have some more mods. So if you feel like you'd be a good mod, send me an email and I can hook you up, because I think that I'm really proud of my community, by the way. I think everyone does a great job of actually addressing criticism in the chat and kind of like self-policing. But of course, we're going to need people with actual real power to ban and silence just trolls in the chat, right? Anyway, so yeah, I don't think this is like the greatest clip of Denims in the world. Also, guys, watch my reaction to Ethan Klein. You don't have to watch Denims react to it, okay? Watch me.
How dare you? You say you fucking support women and you sit here and you fucking giggle and laugh at this girl who was raped? And then immediately you say, I believe all women. And say, oh, wasn't she lying? Like, go to a museum, put this there.
Okay, so I love this performative outrage from Ethan Klein here. Just keep in mind, this is the guy that when Rudy Giuliani said Palestinians are taught at 2 years old how to kill an Israeli, he's like, that's pretty spicy. So literally like making a joke about Rudy Giuliani justifying the genocide of an entire group of people down to 2-year-olds, right? Ethan Klein's like laughing about that. So this is completely performative outrage. I really don't care about Ethan being outraged at anything because he's literally used genocide as a punchline in his content nuke on Hasan. So yeah, I'm not going to give any kind of credence to when Ethan becomes performatively outraged at all.
This is the fucking caliber. This is what's happening in Hasan's community. This is what it is.
Shame on you, KMA.
How can I live in this fucking... We're not... One more time.
I can't believe how quickly leftists go from believe all women to Pixar didn't happen. The vast majority of people, if not all, who are...
Just once again, man, I would like more substantive criticism from Ethan here than just simply saying, oh, she smiled. Like, dude, obviously, like, she smiled because she was kind of caught off guard and she was thinking of a response. But just address her response. You can, like, point out that she smiled. That's fine. You can be like, oh my God, that's, like, gross that she laughed at someone's tale of surviving sexual violence. But then you should also explain what she's doing and, like, why what she's doing is wrong, maybe. But once again, it just seems like Ethan's extremely being hateful here.
Raped, were murdered on the spot.
Here's the thing, though.
Okay, good. Let's get all high and mighty, and let's go ahead and question the narrative. Well, I just don't believe Biden. If it was first-hand accounts, I'd believe them. Go ahead and say that shit.
We are believing the women who come forward and talk about their sexual abuse or experience.
I love the righteous indignation. She would never do that.
I'm not going to believe fucking Biden when he tells me that everybody's getting raped.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
You realize that that's insane,
it's
right?
So crazy. Obvious. Her first instinct being wasn't that disproven. Imagine that. Imagine someone who says they believe women and supports women of sexual violence, and your first fucking thought after being disproven is that this bitch is lying.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't be too crazy if she read an article about that person in the past and then she says, oh yeah, I saw this, it was disproven. I don't know. And I do think Denhams should like pull that up if she's going to make the claim that it's disproven. But once again, like Ethan doesn't actually disprove her either. But like it wouldn't be crazy if off the top of your head you're like, I understand, I recognize this example, and she's lying on this. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't believe people, but if evidence comes out, something like that. At the end of the day, once again, I agree with Hasan. It doesn't matter.
Actually continue to stream with a straight fucking face and pretend to be progressive. This is why this whole fucking thing
Hey, thanks,
is so
Spencer.
hard for Israelis to process it. Usually.
Dam Goldstein Almog was kidnapped from her home on October 7th by Hamas terrorists and was held.
What the fuck?
Actually continue to stream with a straight fuck after being disproven is that this bitch is lying. And actually continue to stream with a straight fucking face and pretend to be progressive. This is why this whole fucking thing is so hard for Israelis to process it. Usually.
Dam Goldstein.
What? Okay, so he's saying this is why it's hard for Israelis to process it? Is he talking about American progressives' reactions to Zionist propaganda is what's making it hard for Israelis to process October 7th? Because I don't really think that's true at all. I think the difficulty in processing October 7th for Israelis, I don't think they care about Denhams. I really don't think people in Israel care about what Denhams has to say about them. I don't even think they care about what Hasan has to say about them. I think Ethan cares about what Denhams and Hasan is saying because he is a Zionist living in America surrounded by progressive people like this, both like physically close to them and also online he's close to them. I think the reason why Israelis are struggling to get past October 7th is because they've been in perpetual war since October 7th, and their government hasn't done anything to actually try to get hostages returned. Like, the only reason that they have any hostages returned is because of the United States. There's stories coming out about how Israeli soldiers are unfortunately ending their own lives due to the untreated PTSD of the October 7th invasion and also the subsequent wars and just horrors that they've been experiencing in Gaza and in Lebanon. So yes, I think that violence is not a good solution to healing from violence, okay? I'll just say that. So that was a bit of a self-report from Ethan there, saying that this Denhams is the reason why Israelis are having a hard time getting over October 7th. It's funny.
Almog was kidnapped from her home on October 7th by Hamas terrorists.
Right. Hannibal Directive is a good Hannibal Directive is a big reason of why it's like not good to be a hostage if you are in the vicinity of Israel.
Was held captive for 51 days. Though only 17 years old, she witnessed the murder of her father and sister on that day and is now speaking out about what she witnessed in Gaza as well in a new documentary by Sheryl Sandberg.
Pretty amazing to be immediately disproven. She goes, I wouldn't believe it unless it was firsthand. Here's a 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her and she was kidnapped for 50 days and continually raped while being in captivity. Nothing to say? Nothing? You're not going to fucking acknowledge what just happened? She will, to say that she's lying. This is a disgusting human being. She's a vile fucking piece of shit.
In new footage, Agam reveals that sexual assault and rape was a regular component of the life as a hostage in Gaza.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
Hasan, maybe you would like to call her a liar. Please. It's funny. I go, Hasan, go ahead and call her a liar. Here's a first-hand account. She's like, hold my beer, or whatever that meme is. Hold my fucking rape kit. I'll do it. God damn it. Somebody's got to call her a liar. I'll step up to the challenge. I will accept this task. This bitch is lying. Go right ahead.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October.
Extremely egalitarian views from Ethan Klein. This is like bitch counter number 4. The reason I'm doing this extremely petty thing is because he got so mad when Hasan said that he cried like a bitch, and he says that Hasan is misogynistic. It's just like, dude, every accusation is every accusation is a confession. It's just funny, man.
There are dozens of testimonies from witnesses. She thinks it's funny. Imagine hearing that and smiling. Even as pro-Palestine as you fucking can possibly be. What's funny about a 17-year-old, an innocent 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her, kidnapped for 50 days, and continually raped in captivity.
So just remember that Ethan has said that the settlers in the West Bank are valid military targets. So if that 17-year-old and her family was in the West Bank, Ethan Klein would be in support of that entire family getting murdered in front of the 17-year-old. So we just need to keep this into perspective. There is only one person on this screen that is in support of violence done against innocent people. And you can say that like settlers are innocent or not, but either way, they're not actually like military at all. And I think that when we're talking about settlers, we should just kind of talk about violence. And in order to reduce the violence as much as possible, maybe don't say that people in the West, like Israelis in the West Bank, are valid military targets, because that would just cause more violence to happen. Maybe you should just say that everyone gets equal rights, right? But Ethan's like, no. We need to have an ethno-state. We need to have apartheid. And in order to do that, I think that violence should be done upon the West Bank settlers.
Funny about that, because she's Israeli. She's 17 years old. She was born there. Her family was murdered in front of her. And people like her and Hasan and everyone in his fucking orbit can't spare one shred of decency, one shred of humanity. She's going to smile at that.
Most of who were in hiding
Look how
have
happy
heard
she
or
is.
saw it happen. And each week there's more stories coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it happened.
Doesn't matter.
But Hasan needs a rape kit from a mutilated...
Wait, wasn't this disproven? Was this clip from her disproven? Is he going to play the clip of her saying anything?
What do you need her to say? What is she going to say? Oh, I was lying. What do you expect her to say? I said I was raped, but I was lying. What is it you're expecting to hear exactly? Maybe the onus should be on you to call a survivor a liar to try to figure out if it's real or not. And again, how do you even disprove?
This is funny. I mean, you did clip her out of context. Maybe she did, but once again, I really just don't care enough about it to like look up the full context of that video. I'm sure Denhams did a good job of actually being responsible in her stream.
Prove somebody like that. Her first intuition, a leftist pro-feminist, is to call her a fucking liar. What a disgusting human being she is. And to be proven wrong right in front of her fucking face 1 second later, and to not even acknowledge it and to smile. And everybody watching, 45,000 viewers. No problem here, guys. No problem here. This entire movement is rotten to the core. It is a joke. What is this? And yes, she is a fucking bitch.
Oh, okay. Wow, he hit that with the hard B. This is another thing that I talked about with Matt Lieb, and there was a point he brought up, how Zionists like Ethan Klein will look at content creators and use basically like let's just say low points in their content that they're putting out there. Everyone makes mistakes. Ethan Klein said some racist stuff. Ethan Klein said some anti-Semitic things. But everyone's said some bad things, right? Especially when you take them out of context and is like a 2-minute clip. You can make anyone in the world look bad if they've been talking for like more than an hour. But we should try to take them in good faith and look at the totality of their content that they're putting out there, not just looking at a clip and forming our opinion based off of that. You should try to do more research into people before forming an opinion on them. So Ethan Klein is basically doing the opposite of that. He is using, like, I guess, low light clips, the opposite of highlight clips, to put on blast in front of his entire audience to try to paint these content creators as just monsters, right? And I think so. And then Matt Lieb was talking about that too, where it's like, if you are not the perfect advocate for the Palestinian movement, then that causes the entire Palestinian movement to be invalid at that point. Like, the entire pro-Palestinian movement is somehow invalidated because you smiled and were awkward at a clip in a video that you're watching for the first time. So when Ethan Klein plays a clip of Denhams and she's laughing, and then he says, this entire movement is rotten to its core. This is exactly what he's doing here. Ethan Klein is taking a low light where a streamer looks awkward and says that this one, like 90-second long clip I am going to use this 90-second long clip to paint the entire pro-Palestinian global movement with this 90-second long clip and use this clip to say that the entire movement is invalid and it's rotten to its core. Okay, so this is the idea. I've talked a lot on this channel about the idea that Palestinians are not perfect victims. They have not done everything 100% right. And they have had like people that have been representatives and participants in like the pro-Palestine movement, and Palestinians themselves have had moral failings. That doesn't preclude them from not being genocided. That's not a justification to suddenly genocide Palestinians. And it's the same thing when we're talking about content creators. If a content creator has an awkward moment, or they slip up, or they say that maybe no sexual violence happened on October 7th, and you have that clip, and then you play that clip over and over and over again, and then more information comes out, and they amend that position that, okay, well, sexual violence did happen, but that doesn't change the fact that we shouldn't genocide people. Ethan will use that clip and other people like Ethan to attack the content creators, and thus by proxy attack the entire movement altogether, and say it's actually invalid to push for Palestinian emancipation because no one's doing it right. No one is actually pushing for Palestinian emancipation in a perfect way, in a way that I accept, and a way that I think is a good way without any criticism that I can aim at you. So it's another aspect of the no perfect victim line that I've been pushing. The no perfect advocate. Okay? And it's just interesting how we see Ethan Klein invalidating an entire global movement for peace and stability in the Middle East as rotten to its core based off of a 90-second clip from a Twitch streamer. So we're seeing this idea play out in real time from Ethan here.
Somebody that laughs in the face of other fucking rape victims and immediately calls them liars, that's a fucking bitch of a person. If not that, then who? She is earning the coveted distinction of being a fucking bitch.
I don't think bitch is the word I would use there, but okay. Like he's like, if it's the who said it? Who fuck was it Lincoln who said that? Goddamn, it was just in that Alex O'Connor video where he's like, if evil exists in this world, then slavery is evil. He's like, if bitches exist in this world, then Denims is a bitch. That's funny.
Congratulations. Enjoy the distinction. I've come here and I've made the distinction. I have decreed, let it be known, that Denims is a dumb fucking bitch.
Congratulations.
This actually makes me nauseous.
That's not a distinction.
By the way, this is the people Dan Clancy fucking promotes on his platform. So let's see here. Is this another one? Oh yeah, here's another one. Denim's being caught in a fucking lie. 45,000 people and nobody's got a problem. Watch this one.
Fuck, bro, you're ugly as shit. You look like a rapist. You look like a fucking rapist, Ethan.
Is she horrified by what he said, or she's like, got him?
Feel bad for you.
Okay, can I just say really quickly, it's very obvious from the way that guy's talking, he's a Sneeko fan. Like, I'm sorry, that language is not Hasan fan verbiage. Like, that's very clear Sneeko lexicon. Can we just be honest for just 2 seconds?
Let's be honest.
Like,
Okay, so I think that guy was a Sneeko fan. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know his name, but I know there was like tweets coming out where the guy's like, oh yeah, I hate Hasan because he's like gay, or he likes trans people. What is this? Breaking down each of Ethan's arguments help. I know this is kind of silly. There was one random Hasan fan was mean and harassing Ethan, not an actual Hasan fan, just a cloud chaser. Hasan has talked about this. Pretty sure I heard he was a Sneeko fan. What is this? Oh, they're just saying he was a Sneeko fan. As Comrade Lamb notes, dating and money 101. Oh yeah. So regarding the Hasan fan, actual Sneeko fan, here's the info I collected. Dating and Money 101 shows up on screen, but Hasan isn't there, doesn't recognize it's Hasan's stream, and is seemingly clout hungry. IMO, an actual fan, would recognize Lolo, or at least March. Dating and Money 101 meets Hasan, lingers, and is cringe until Hasan seemingly begrudgingly does the interview he's been asking for when he sticks a camera in light. He laughs at Hasan expense prior to the H3 podcast. He's referenced by Sneeko as his fan. H3 podcast references Dating and Money 101 incident and labels him a deranged Sneeko fan. H3 podcast has Dating and Money 101 on the podcast for debate, where he is labeled anti-Semitic Sneeko fan, which demonstrates his red pill / Islamic views, which align with Sneeko, not Hasan's ideology. My opinion, it was incredibly dishonest of Ethan to push the narrative he did. Granted, he knew the man's ideology had brought him on his own podcast before. Let me know if you need screenshots or screen recordings. So this guy's like Dating and Money 101. Let's see. Dating and Money 101 Hasan tweet. So I just do X. I know, I thought there was like some tweet where he's like, oh, I used to be a fan of Hasan until I saw that he was like pro-trans people. But whatever. I was not aware. Let's watch some of these clips. So Ethan brings him on to his podcast for a debate, and he says deranged Sneeko fan, and now he's like trying to say that he's a Hasan fan.
All I need. Hello, everybody. It is I, your favorite
Most
90s.
replayed.
Dating and Money 101, who's in the waiting room. Please bring him on, Dan. For Christ's sake. Oh, what's up, bro? Is that a thing? Can you hear me? Are you doing something?
Yo, bro, I just want you to know, tell you and your girl, you see this place right here?
Yeah.
You guys will never be able to go inside of it, okay? No matter how hard you try.
Image.
And we reached out first. We're not running away from anything.
It's the same key of E.
We just had a weekend.
You said, hey, would you like to call into the... Now, my opinion is celebs, but here's the biggest opportunity of your career. And you snoozed on it. But, he called me out for running from debates, and I said, you know what? He's right. I don't want to run anymore. Tell Ethan, don't be scared. Let me know tomorrow. I'm ready. He's talking about Saturday, of course, which I considered coming into the office. He's my daddy. Just as I was down his eye, and I could tell in his face that if I walked out that door, things
Okay,
would
whatever. Anyway, that was kind of funny. So let's continue.
Finally, please.
Wallahi, that is not.
Wallahi.
No.
What does that mean?
Wallahi, I swear.
Oh, I swear. Okay, good. She swears.
Oh my God, bro, I love you. Hasan, can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
I'm so sweaty.
I love you, bro.
Once again,
I have to interview
speechless?
you. You're my hero, bro.
Nothing to say, girl.
You're the coolest guy.
Here's the, you just went a whole fucking, you just grandstand on how he's obviously just must not be a fan of Hasan. And like, how could she sit there so stupid and smug? Oh my
Just
God.
be real. Wallahi, that is not. No.
Oh my God, bro, I love you. Hasan, can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
I'm so sweaty.
I love you, bro. I have to interview you. You're my hero, bro. I love you. Bro, you're the coolest guy in the world, bro.
Coolest guy in the world.
Hold on, I think I look gay now. Hold on.
Can we just be honest for just 2 seconds?
I don't. By the way, in this clip, I never talked about it, but if you look at it, it's interesting. He goes, "Wait, I think I look gay in that one." And then Hasan says to him, "You look tough." He's like, "You don't look gay. You look tough." Epic.
Raging misogynist Hasan. Okay, so that was funny. Just more misinformation from Ethan here, like dunking on Denims, saying that he is a Hasan fan, and you fucking debated the guy, dude.
Gay's the opposite of tough.
Yes, good clip, chimp. Very good. He yelled at him later. Yeah,
Other clip.
You really killed him,
Yeah.
dude. You really got him.
Yes. Yeah. I swear you guys are worried about the dumbest shit. I was a Hasan fan until I found out the seriousness.
Wait, so Ethan's literally saying that the guy's like anti-trans and isn't a Hasan fan anymore.
Of him promoting transgender propaganda.
When are we gonna dance live?
He was a fan of Hasan until he, I guess.
What are you doing tonight, beautiful?
Spoke too kindly about trans people. More denim.
Also, dude, Hasan's been like pro-trans for the past 3, 4, 5 years. And Ethan's acting like this guy's just now not being a Hasan fan. Like, this is before October 7th, Hasan has been pro-trans. Hasan's very openly talked about how at first he was anti-trans people, but then he changed his stance on that in like 2020. So, yes, he hasn't been a fan for 5 years. Okay, this is so fucking dumb. I'm sorry.
You can believe that.
You know the thing, the difference between
Like, listen. It's dumb on its face to take a look at a guy who's like obviously extremely fucking weird and paint him as a Hasan fan to try to say that like Hasan's weird, right? That's dumb on its face. It gets even stupider when it comes out that Ethan fucking debated the guy and he has different positions and values from Hasan. And even Ethan labeled him as a Sneeko fan. And then like the cherry on top of this shit cake is Ethan pushing up a clip or throwing up a tweet from that guy saying, yeah, basically I haven't been a fan of Hasan for like the past 5 years. Okay, dude. I mean, you're literally just disproving your own point, but whatever. Your point was meaningless anyway, I guess.
you and Hasan?
What?
Not Nasrallah. The difference between Ethan, the difference between you and Hasan Piker?
Yes, what? Please tell me. So insightful.
He never.
I don't deny rape. I don't support terrorists. I don't lie and gaslight and manipulate my audience. I don't promote policies that actually go against the interests of the Palestinian people.
And dude, you've done all of those things. Maybe not denying of rape, but I'm sure there's examples out there where Ethan's made like rape jokes about someone who's said they experienced sexual violence and then that didn't happen. When we talk about how he doesn't support terrorism, he pretty clearly supports terrorism. He's been like, well, maybe the IDF is a terrorist organization, right? He said that when Hasan's like, yeah, the Israel should not attack Palestinians. Ethan's like, okay, dude, like, of course they're going to attack Palestinians. He has said that like, oh yeah, if you're anti-America, then you are a radical, crazy, bad guy. It's like, dude, America does the most terrorism ever. America is the biggest progenitor of terrorism in the history of the world. And Ethan's going to sit here and be like, well, I think that an American company should buy TikTok because we don't know what those crazy Chinese are going to do. We need to have it American controlled for the propaganda. Okay, so dude, you've also been spreading misinformation on your show, so there's that.
What are you going to say? What's the difference between me and Hasan? There's so many things to choose from.
He never said Hasan Nasrallah was a good guy.
Right.
You explicitly said Gallant was a good guy.
Right, exactly, of course. Invented the legend of the Nazi atrocities.
I don't have an issue with that.
I can't believe I'm calling Nasrallah base. I mean, listen. You have to remember.
Like, dude, Ethan's. Once again, I don't know if it's like his media analysis is just so low, or he is just playing dumb on, like, dumbing himself down subconsciously to try to think that these clips say the things that he wants them to say. But Hasan's not saying I've explained this like 5 times now in this clip. Hasan's not saying Hasan Nasrallah is a good guy. He's responding to a chatter who has like a bigotry of low expectations, and I know Ethan loves to trot that out there, being like, oh well, if you think that anti-Semitism in the Middle East is caused by Israel, that's bigotry of low expectations, because people in the Middle East should recognize that sure, Israel legislates based off of its Jewish ethnicity. They have laws based off of Jewish ethnicity, but that doesn't mean that you have to hate Jews, even though the country that defines itself as being Jewish is attacking you. That's bigotry of low expectations. That's not bigotry of low expectations. That's just analyzing different causes, like the effects of an ethnostate. What bigotry of low expectations really are is when you look at someone like Hasan Nasrallah, who is brown, he speaks a different language than you, he dresses in a way that like white people in America don't dress up as, and then he's starting to do political analysis that you would agree with and that you think is really intelligent, and you're like, I can't believe he's doing such like high level political analysis. Hasan is addressing those low assumptions of someone based off of their outward appearance and being like, yes, this man is very highly educated. He's went to like Western universities and done a ton of studying on these issues. He's not a dumb person, and he's not an uneducated person. And Ethan seems to think that that's an endorsement of everything that this guy has ever done in his entire life from Hasan.
Remember, you have to remember something, okay? A lot of these...
Chair react.
I don't have an issue with them.
No comment?
I can't
No comment!
Bro, you literally fucking cut the clip off. If you want her to, if you want a comment from her, why are you playing it from like the live stream fails? Go to her stream. Like, dude, it's one thing to dunk on denims with these out of context clips. It's another thing to play an out of context clip with the context cut out, and then Ethan being like, oh, why aren't you commenting? Why aren't you commenting? Maybe because you cut the clip.
Zero fucking comment? How could she own herself so many times in one stream? It's pretty fucking remarkable.
You know the thing, the difference between you and Hasan?
Go one more time, really, please tell us.
Oh God, I'm not listening to this 100 times. Correction, redenims. All right, let's listen to the correction.
I feel the need to correct you on, maybe not correct you, but just add a disclaimer. Earlier you said something about her having a sexual relationship with Destiny. I've been trying to find evidence of that. The closest thing I can see is that they had, part of their falling out was because she hooked up with somebody in his bed without his permission or knowledge. Some like weird messy drama like that. I don't think that they, as far as anybody knows, had any sort of direct, unless you know something I don't. But I feel like that's worth pointing out.
She said, unfortunately, I made the mistake of not having sex with him. After that point, he decided to go full smear campaign and threatened to leak non-consensual footage of her.
Was she saying that that happened to her?
She was one of the people that he supposedly recorded without her knowledge.
When did that happen?
As part of like.
Or I mean, not when did it happen, but was that a recent development, or she just claimed that?
Yeah, it was part of the whole blowout that happened with Destiny.
Yeah, from my understanding, she didn't want to speak about it publicly, but because of the courage of the other girls who brought up their situations.
So glad that she admires the courage of other women coming forward.
And he...
Oh, hold on. Are they Jewish? Nah, fuck, that bitch is lying. Are any of the girls Jewish that accused
Okay, Ethan. Like, all right, let's see his reaction to Frogan's reaction to his reaction of Hasan.
So that's denims for you. And like, dude. So let's move on to Frogan, which is also a fucking honestly, Frogan's just dumb. Honestly, like her stuff is more funny. Denims is like evil. But Frogan's is just dumb, so it doesn't. But let's see. This is good. It's all good with denims or with Frogan.
No, you don't. Why do you say that? Because well, you're
Chat, is denims Arab? Because Hasan's made a comment about how Ethan's been going after like a lot of Arab people lately, and I don't know. Is denims Arab? Like, I don't really see Ethan particularly going after Arab people. I think he just goes after the lowest hanging fruit that he can get his hands on, which is why he reached out to that TikToker for a debate, which is hilarious. Oh, she's Egyptian? Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's continue. Hey, you never know. Maybe I'm Arab. A lot of people have thought that I'm Arab. Haven't done Ancestry, so I'm kind of like a chameleon. So I am gonna say Arab is I am gonna say Ethan's racist if he ever targets me, though. I'm gonna play that card. I'm gonna be like, you are being white phobic, Ethan, by attacking a white person for their takes on Israel Palestine. As being a white person, I feel like it's my privilege to be able to comment on every different conflict in the entire world, and I have a right to be heard on this. So if you are saying that I should shut up and I'm dumb, that's actually very Caucasian phobic of you, Ethan. Yeah, should I just say that I'm Arab and then Ethan will react to me? I've been called Arab before.
Same for Frogan. That's sad. That's terrorism, bro. That's sad. Feel bad for you guys. Ethan Klein, bro, you're ugly as fuck, bro. You're ugly as shit. You look like a rapist. You look like a fucking rapist, Ethan. Feel bad for you guys.
Also, dude, like Ethan including that clip in the video was really funny because it did not make him look good. Like, he was just smiling there as this guy's basically harassing him and his wife, and then they just drove off. And he's like, oh yeah. Okay, whatever. I guess he's just trying to make Hasan look bad, right? Like, he would cream his pants if he had a clip of Hasan being like, Oh yeah, Ethan's a rapist, or he looks like a rapist.
Hey, Klein, bro, you're ugly as fuck, bro. You're ugly as shit. You look like a rapist.
Yeah, there's literally a Sneeko fan.
Same.
The fuck?
Same trap.
Oh my god, bro, I love you, Hasan. I'm so sweet, bro. I love you, bro.
Say something.
I have to you're like my hero, bro.
At least acknowledge that you're.
Okay, 3, 2,
Just got
1.
disproven. She didn't even acknowledge it. Fuck. It's amazing. That's Frogie.
Can I say I'm surprised at the age of Frogan and Denims? I thought they were both in their early 20s.
How old are they?
They're both 28.
Oh, you expect better of people that age. That's like a grown-ass person.
Yeah.
Especially to be like online begging for rent money. It's like, girl, you know what I mean? Like, come on, you're 28.
Mike from Kia responding to
Everybody has tried their
Ludwig.
best to make it.
I don't really care about this drama. Oh yeah, I wanted to see Anthony from Do Not Worry podcast.
Ex-fan gets heated. Let me see. Oh, this
God, say my
fucking
name,
guy.
Ethan Klein.
Yeah.
Say my name, okay? Say the Do Not Worry podcast. Talk about how much of a fan I was. You saw that video.
Yeah, I never watch Rogan content, but she does have a very infectious laugh. Like, I think that you can't really criticize her for her laugh. Her laugh is funny, man. Making fun of her laugh, that's too far, Ethan.
This guy is so silly. He is like an extra from Frogan's podcast that I've seen a few times saying dumb shit, and he's under the impression that he has this weird like schizophrenic obsession that like I'm somehow keyed into everything he's doing. So bizarre. He's not even a big creator. Like it would really be a niche.
Say my name. Oh God, say my name, Ethan Klein. Say my name, okay? Say the
Okay, fine. Tell me what's your name.
podcast. Talk about how much of a fan I was. You saw that video.
Dude, you literally included a clip of him in your content, Nuke, and you don't know his name? You said that he was racist against, you said he was racist because he's saying that Israel's doing cultural appropriation by claiming hummus as theirs. I mean, okay, it's one thing if there's just like a content creator chirping at you. Like I'm not expecting Ethan to talk about me or to say my name or anything like that. But if I was included in one of his videos, I would expect him to talk about me. Like I just have to say that.
Talk about all the Teddy Fresh I own. You've seen the statements in your back end of Teddy.
Bro, thinks we just got an award for 1 million sales. I don't know.
Well,
who
it's
the
gonna
fuck...
be tough to sit through it. You better get started.
I'm just saying, I don't know who the fuck you are because you bought Teddy Fresh.
Well, you probably only sold like 2,000 of that hoodie that he has right there.
That's true. We could probably narrow it down a decent amount.
Yeah.
Good point. Well,
And how many orders do you have that went to Lebanon? That could help as well.
Well, he's saying that when it came in, I was like, oh, it's the dude. It's the dude that buys all the Teddy Fresh from us.
He lives in Lebanon right now.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Oh, damn, the shipping over there must be crazy. No to Sweden already.
I'm not familiar, but I see such a mix of clips from him, like people tagging me in where it's like one day he's defending me, another day he's going after me. I'm not familiar.
He was the dude who was like, you can actually you can culturally appropriate dreadlocks. That's not a problem with me. But if you cook hummus,
Yeah, so you know very specific comments a person has made, and now you're like, oh, it's so niche. How would I know of him? But you do know of him.
then we have an issue.
We got an issue.
But I wish you would just tell me his name. He spent this whole fucking video and he didn't even say his goddamn name.
Yeah, it's like a sales pitch.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah,
it's like a sales pitch without a link.
You've seen the payments. Say my name, Ethan. Why are you so afraid of me in the bed?
Why wouldn't he say his name? Yeah.
Say the name. Say the name. Why are you afraid of us? Why are you afraid of us?
This is.
Sorry for saying pussy. I don't mean it that way. Okay, it's two ways.
How did you mean it?
Okay. This is just so dumb. I'll just play like a few more minutes of this and then we'll call it. Actually, I do want to go over the Reddit, so we'll play the few more minutes of this video.
Time to implement that.
I think if anyone uses this new strategy, it's you. I mean, nobody's watching your fucking content. That's more concerning. I don't care how many subs you gained in the last month. You know?
I'm staying in the race. I'm staying in the race. That soundbite from Majority Report is so good.
Fire the crew in a year because you're gonna get 200,000 views for fucking, and you make fun of my views, you motherfucker.
Did I?
Almost. And say it's
Bro, it's incredible, man. How dumb these people are.
Fun of his views. Maybe Frogan's.
Well,
Ethan does
well,
view shade.
I just did, but
No, but in what he's reacting to.
the Arabs podcast, I did make fun of their low viewership. Probably.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But I don't even know if he's on that show or if
enough.
he's just like a.
He's an extra.
If he's just an extra. Dude, you're literally just like a podcast extra for Frogan. Why would I know who you are?
And usually when we don't know someone, our Shad just spams their name. I've been trying to. I've literally been trying to figure it out. Looking at Shad, no one's been.
That's a fucking hilarious.
Because I'm doing the timestamp, and right now the timestamp is 3:59. Say my name.
Living momentum. That's amazing. This is now Hasan no longer will say my name. He's using acronyms or shorthand to refer to me as I'm too spooky. Too spooky to mention. Fucking mute.
People not to vote. Why? Because it sounds good. Or, yeah, he's been saying over and over that you didn't vote and told people not to vote. Why? Because it sounds good for him and he can blame you for why Trump won. Yep, all down to you, apparently.
You absolutely moved against her. unquestionable. Why are you rewriting history, bro? Just own your shit. This is like a clip from my video where I show him being like, he's not a Houthi terrorist. He's not a Houthi terrorist. He's not a Houthi terrorist. And then cut forward to like when he interviewed him. Oh yeah, of course I'm interviewing a Houthi terrorist. Like, dude rewrites history right in front of these people and they buy it.
Apparently. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous because ironically enough, if the Democratic Party had listened to some of my concerns early on in the campaign from the DNC onward, when I was fucking invited to the DNC, as a matter of fact.
And then removed from the DNC when people realized that, what the fuck was that?
Then they might have actually won the election.
Yep.
And it's ironic because the current fucking head of the DNC heard some of those concerns on CNN when I was on CNN and said, I agree with Hasan. So what the fuck are we talking about?
I'm talking about you actively campaigning against her. That's what we're talking about.
Holy shit, dude. Ethan's actually a fucking moron. Once again, he spent hours of his time on air trying to find clips proving that Hasan campaigned against Kamala Harris, and he was completely unsuccessful. So who's rewriting history in his mind? Yeah, and he's not actually able to talk about. He's like, he loves saying that Hasan got kicked out of the DNC. I don't know if he did, but like that was literally a joke that Hasan made. He's like, oh, are we getting kicked out of here? And Ethan just picked that up and ran with it. It's not really, and then like it's not really a condemnation of Hasan being anti-Democrats, right? And he is anti-Democrats, but he's always said that they're like the lesser of two evils. And he's like, there's literally clips you can find where Hasan's like, yes, lesser of two evils voting is correct. You should always do lesser. Like, dude, how? Okay. Let's just go over all of the things that Hasan did. He filled out a ballot on stream. He said he's not voting for Donald Trump. He says he is voting for the Democratic presidential candidate. And he says that lesser of two evils voting is correct. Use your big boy brain, Ethan. You said you wanted to pretend to be baby brained, so we know you probably don't have a baby brain. Use your big boy brain to put one and one together and come up with a conclusion for who Hasan voted for. Anyway, I think it's hilarious that Hasan's also like, oh yeah, and I got a message from, or like, I went on CNN and then the head of the DNC agreed with me. And Ethan's like, okay, but you still campaigned against Kamala Harris. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, Hasan campaigned against Kamala Harris. Anyway, let's just go over a few of this. Okay. So we're just going to be scrolling through the Reddit and see like the fallout there, because I've seen some interesting quotes, or I've seen some interesting takes, and it is concerning to me. So I've talked a lot about how Ethan Klein is bringing in a new audience, and that audience is people who likes to attack leftist people and likes to attack progressives. That's the audience Ethan Klein is engendering right now. So, diehard fan, I truly have no idea who Destiny is. I thought we were talking about this emo guy who used to pop up on Shane Dawson channel 10 years ago. Okay, so that's just like a shit post. And then when we talk about like the changing demographics in Ethan's group, that is also going to be aided by the increasing amount of animosity between the H3 podcast and other leftist YouTube channels. So, for example, the Humanist Report did an Ethan Klein video. We also need to keep in mind that Emma Vigeland and the rest of the guys on the Majority Report did content talking about Ethan Klein and talking about liberal Zionism and how liberal Zionism is dumb, and Ethan Klein attacked them for that. But he said, he's like, oh yeah, Sam Cedar's good, but all of the other guys are bad, right? So he's been attacking them for that. He's been allying with Anna Kasparian. So there's like a lot of posts of let's just scroll down a little bit. There's like a lot of posts of people in the H3 subreddit talking about Anna Kasparian. So with the increase of conservatives into Ethan Klein's subreddit, or into Ethan Klein's audience, and then also the increasing fights that they are picking with other leftist channels, this is the perfect recipe for Ethan Klein to make a right-wing pivot. And I don't know if he will, and I just think that if Ethan ever lets this go and stops attacking progressives and stops being kind of like anti-Palestinian, I think his audience is going to tank, because he's gotten rid of a lot of fans that are progressive, and that was kind of his community, that was kind of his fan base, and now he's replaced them with conservative fans. And if he ever starts doing less anti-progressive content, I really think people aren't going to watch his videos anymore. Okay, so scrolling down, let's just see what we have here. Oh yeah, another useful idiot. Papa Gut reacts to this hate piece by the Humanist Report. So now the Humanist Report is in their crosshairs. Another Hasan red flag. He says, I like to look at myself having sex sometimes. Like, no one has. Also, this is fucking hilarious. I noticed this earlier today. So Hasan says, I like to look at myself having sex sometimes, and people say, another Hasan red flag. Right underneath, literally, in the next fucking post, they say, we love Gabe, don't we, folks? When Gabe says, would you smell your girl's feet? So Hasan being like, yeah, like, has no one ever recorded themselves having sex? Like, obviously consensually? Like, that's a very popular thing to do, and they say that's a Hasan red flag. When underneath they're like, would you smell your girl's feet? And they're like, we love this. Like, dude, you can't make this fucking shit up. It's literally the same thing right next to each other with the opposite reaction. Mike from PA creating transformative content against Ethan. Okay, whatever. I'm unsubbing. Hasan and his fan base are racist towards Jewish people, so that's what they're saying now. Snarkers and Hasan fans saying they watched the video. What does watching the video look like?
Okay, now that we've watched 6.5 minutes, I feel confident that I'm right.
Okay, so just like taking that out of context. A new level of conspiracy, LOL. No one can convince me that the Democrats didn't plan to lose so the Republicans could finish the US plans of ethnic cleansing. That's the conspiracy.
Why are you talking about it? And again, like, I just can't stress enough how insane.
Oh, and then also this, where they're attacking Hasan for being like, we have no evidence that Kamala Harris would be better on Gaza than Donald Trump is, which is something Sam Cedar said himself, and they're not attacking him for that. What's this? You know what, YouTube? I don't think I'm going to watch this later, actually. So just like,
it's kind of cool.
Just like people being like anti-Hasan. This guy Papa Gut, he has like a podcast with Keemstar, and his audience really seems like, am I wrong in this? It seems like his audience really likes Keemstar and Papa Gut now. Okay, well, I don't know if anything else is going to load, but this was so funny. Another Hasan red flag right underneath it is Gabe. When did being angry all the time be cool? And they're like, oh, Hasan's so angry all the time. How could Dearborn or Hasan have known? So this is blaming Muslim voters for the genocide that's happening. And this is what Ethan Klein is creating. Don't let Hasan fans gaslight you. It doesn't matter if the kid was a Houthi or not. So they're saying that. Oh yeah, this was funny. They're saying that this artist is saying that he can't be associated with the H3 Productions crew is being anti-Semitic. Like, he says, I'm sorry I can't be associated with this company. Thanks for the consideration. And they're like, the artist I wanted to collaborate with decided I can't be associated with because I'm Israeli. I followed him for years, always supported him, and I have an original painting of his at my house. When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism is, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate with an Israeli just because I was born there. So once again, conflating being an Israeli and being anti-Semitic, also like ascribing anti-Semitism to someone who doesn't want to associate with these people. And this is kind of like Ethan Klein's content that he's putting out there. Yeah, so there's a bunch of like gross stuff here, but I think just looking at kind of the result of Ethan Klein's rhetoric has been concerning, to say the least. I'm surprised Ethan hasn't brought up Willie Mac show debate. Hasan invited him on for a debate and didn't watch his video, said he was fed clips by the almighty Destiny, questioned his support for Palestine, and used the excuse that he's covering an ongoing genocide. Wouldn't that, are you just saying that Destiny fed him clips? Oh yeah, this is just really gross. So this is something that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to end it here, but we can take a look at this. We've reached a point, and they're saying that Palestine is now being used as a shield for criticism against Hasan. And I just need to put this out there. Like, I just need to highlight how gross this is really quick, because Hasan can rest easy. Palestine is suffering, so people can't criticize him. This seems like, obviously, the punctuation and grammar in this sentence is horrible. And it's just like a brain dead little post, a little meme that they threw up there. They threw together really quickly. But this is a sentiment that Ethan has really been creating in his community. This is just the meme form of that whole section of the content nuke where Ethan uses genocide as the punchline. And I don't need to say that Hasan has like lost opportunities for being anti-Palestinian or being pro-Palestinian and anti-genocide. By speaking out about the genocide, Hasan has lost a lot of opportunities. He immediately lost a lot of viewers on his live stream. He was labeled as an anti-Semite, pro-terror loving voice. He's literally lost his friendship with Ethan Klein by speaking out about Palestinians. And now his friend, Ethan Klein, has been maligning Hasan as a pro-terror loving anti-Semite for about 4 or 5 months. So there are obviously negative consequences for speaking out in favor of Palestine. And I just think it is so lacking in proper context when you are making images like this. And you are so in your own bubble when you think that Hasan mentioning that genocide is happening, why are you criticizing me? Basically doing what I was talking about, where Hasan is saying, you are criticizing advocates for Palestine in a way to attack the actual cause of Palestine. The no perfect advocate argument, basically. Hasan is saying that. He's saying, why are you attacking Palestinian advocates when there's a genocide going on? And instead of actually taking a step back, thinking about what that means, and being like, okay, you're actually right. I don't think that the negligible amount of anti-Semitism that you could be causing by, I don't even know what argument they would say is causing anti-Semitism by being an advocate for Palestine. Let's just say Hasan is causing anti-Semitism. If you take a step back and you think, okay, the amount of anti-Semitism Hasan is causing is negligible compared to the amount of death and destruction that has been brought upon the Palestinian people by Israel and defended by the United States and Zionist organizations. Nothing that Hasan is doing, even the potential negative consequences, even comes close to the amount of genocide that's happening. Instead of taking a step back and thinking that, they just assume that he's using a genocide to defend himself from criticism. And it almost serves to reinforce the idea that the genocide isn't that big of a deal, and that people talking about the genocide are almost virtue signaling. It's not that big of a deal. Why are you guys talking about it so much? It's almost concerning that you're talking about the actions of Israel so much. Do you think you might have a problem with Jews? You're really fixated on what Israel is doing. Do you think you might have a little bit of a fixation on Jews? Why are you so concerned about what Jewish people are doing? And that is a very easy mindset to fall into when your starting point is that we are criticizing Hasan. We're not criticizing the pro-Palestinian movement. We're just criticizing Hasan for being a two pro-resistance groups against Israel, and actually he uses genocide as a way to defend. He uses genocide as a way to deflect against criticism. And so when Ethan is saying Hasan uses genocide to deflect against criticism, what are you going to do then? You are going to automatically ignore the genocide and write that off as a deflection. It is a way to mentally get his audience members to minimize the genocide in their minds. And actually, the real issue is the amount of anti-Semitism that Hasan is creating in his community. If you are being told over and over and over again that talking about genocide is a deflection against the criticisms of you causing anti-Semitism, then in your mind, the anti-Semitism becomes a much bigger issue than the genocide that's going on. Okay? And with that, I think we can call this stream. I appreciate everyone for watching. I got a lot of emails for mod requests, but there's a lot of dumb stuff going on. Trying to reach out to more people. Let me know. Comment below in this stream telling me who you want to see me talk to. If you know Denims at all, or you know any of her mods, tell her to reach out and we can chat. I think that would be fun. I'd like to talk to Frogan. Of course, I'd like to talk to Hasan on all of these things, but it really seems like this isn't going anywhere. And I'm pretty much going to be only covering Donald Trump and the fallout of this Ethan Klein stuff, because it really does. It just feels like we're watching a community turn conservative in real time. All right, guys. Well, anyway, yeah, there's a lot of things that Ethan Klein has said and done that we can point to, but for now, we're just going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching, everyone. This was a good stream. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's grow this channel, and maybe Ethan Klein will actually be forced to react to me. Just spread the rumor that I might be Arab, because I look Arab. Anyway, guys, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.